A blonde girl avatar sprints through a dark dungeon, braving the danger alone. She is raiding a colossal red dragon, which suddenly breathes a massive wall of fire. It is like a raging anime beast on a rampage, but she slips past smoothly. Showing off crazy reflexes, she broadcasts her run live to an adoring online crowd. But then confidence gets the best of her, and she charges straight ahead blindly. The boss swats her down like a bug, sending her crashing across the rocky floor. She gets wrecked right away, her live chat erupts into endless laughter. Turns out this tiny brave knight is not actually a real girl at all. She is just an avatar controlled by Mizuno Itsuki inside Meta Sense. This virtual online world just launched a massive update for its active players. With brutal new maps and deadlier monsters, Itsuki dives deep to escape reality. Hiding in the virtual world happens to be his absolute favorite specialty. Soon after, the gamer slowly drags himself out of the capsule, looking completely exhausted. He is definitely not some adorable virtual anime girl. Instead, he is a 33-year-old retired pro gamer with zero stamina left. Do not call it catfish just yet. The actual voice of his avatar belongs to his chatty coworker, a 26-year-old named Takebana Yuka. She is a struggling streamer who lacks her own creative ideas. He plays. She speaks, and together they bring the popular character Yonamori Sato to life. But get this, the fans only watch to see her fail. That their daily view counts are plummeting, while Itsuki calmly sips his water. He looks completely unbothered by her panic. She screams that they are failing. But he shrugs, claiming he just handles the controls, so she should not blame him. He believes the audience is only there to listen to her talk anyway. Yuka breaks down, crying that if things do not change, she will get stuck. She hates the idea of streaming games forever and wishes for a bigger audience. Maybe then the company president would let her try something new, right then. The boss struts into the room with absolute confidence, head held high. He acts like he just conquered the hardest gaming challenge ever created. Listening to their bickering, he says their fights are actually pretty funny. He warns them that they are stuck in a rut and need fresh ideas. Yuka immediately shifts the blame to Itsuki, suggesting she could just sing solo. But the boss shuts her down, asking if she really thinks she is. Ready to go solo, the president openly doubts anyone would even follow her. Her miserable expression shows that even she knows he is entirely right. Next, the boss targets Itsuki, but Itsuki quickly pulls out a fresh newspaper, reporting on a brand new dungeon, proposing a massive live stream event. The boss snatches the paper, acknowledging Itsuki has the skills to win. Yet he claims the gamer has no clue what the modern audience desires. Itsuki counters, saying fans love watching Sato do well and then fail. They want to see her act cocky and get totally destroyed on stream. It sounds silly, but he believes the strategy is guaranteed to succeed. The boss turns cold, telling him to stream it on his own channel. He reminds him of his past failures when online haters roasted him constantly. Those bitter memories hit him like a heavy fist, cutting deep. His mind flashes back to when the internet completely roasted him, making him yield right away. The company president throws him a pretty lazy compliment, saying that as long as he stays under his wing, he won't get burned like that again. Before brushing it off like he didn't just lay a verbal smackdown, Sato ends up paired with Galia, who flashes a camera-ready smile and introduces her to the chat like she is performing pure charity work. As the agency's gold child, Galia gets the elite production treatment that makes Sato's budget setup look like a total bargain bin joke, drones included. Itsuki recognizes right away that this is the exact same dungeon he pitched earlier, only now he is just dragged along for the ride. Yuka spots a weird floor color, warning her senpai about a dangerous pitfall trap and telling her to skirt the edge. As they move deeper, Sato keeps slicing through monsters left and right, from creepy bats to spooky ghosts, keeping the audience from getting bored. Itsuki decides to spice things up by walking directly into active traps, even letting himself get paralyzed on purpose just to create. Hilarious clickbait moments where the chat can roast Sato. Galia, on the other hand, fights like she is recording an over-edited hype montage, deleting enemies without taking a scratch, showing off the exact gameplay that screams she is farming. Easy sponsor clips. Venturing deeper, they eventually encounter the final dungeon boss, who angrily roars that they have left him with absolutely nothing to lose. As he rises, pitch-black energy erupts from his body like an overactive shonen villain making a dramatic final stand. Sato whispers that she hates vampire bosses, but Galia, brimming with ego, tells her to watch and learn. She charges up her staff and vaults high into the air, fully believing she is about to have a Goku versus Frieza moment. Itsuki gets ready to join the fight, but the president slides into his direct messages, instructing him to wait and pull the vampire's aggro so he can get wrecked for the sake of views. This time, Itsuki snaps completely, watching the stream chat praise Galia as a pro, while her moves are basically bargain bin tier. While his own legendary skills are completely ignored, makes his blood boil over. He blitzes in behind her, yanks her staff away instantly, and cuts the audio feed so Yuka cannot begin shrieking at him, spotting a random live comment accusing someone of hijacking Sato's account. He drops a massive truth bomb, revealing that the gameplay was always his and the voice belonged to someone else. Without dropping his rhythm, he teleports behind the vampire boss with the stolen staff and completely obliterates him without taking a single scratch. Naturally, the clip goes viral, and by sunset, social media is absolutely flooded with rumors claiming Yonamori Sato is actually a girl, while the massive hate for Itsuki explodes. Strangely enough, getting fired feels incredibly liberating, and he actually considers returning to solo streaming as he exits the studio. However, that fantasy dies when a massive thug grabs his collar, violently accusing him of stream hijacking. Immediately, a hostile crowd gathers around to record him, yelling that he is just a pathetic failed streamer trying to pull another cheap stunt. Itsuki isn't even shocked at this point. His private details were already leaked during the previous drama, making him incredibly easy to track down. The mob shoves him into the busy street, and before he can recover, a speeding car rams straight into him, instantly ending his life. But the very next second, he wakes up wondering if he is recovering in a ward or entering the afterlife. But he is greeted by the familiar sight of his old bedroom. He bolts upright and checks. He stares at his phone, realizing he went back 10 years, his old streaming account, long before the internet hate roasted him alive. That alone fires him up, but he is not going to be stupid this time around. Logging back into that account would just hand his home address to the online mob. So he decides to start completely fresh, armed with future knowledge like he just pulled a ReZero-style respawn. He plans to milk every trend, outplay every pro, and climb right to the top of meta sense like a king. Itsuki takes a slow, deep breath, organizing his thoughts, and remembers the timeline. There is still a whole month left before the official release of Meta Sense. All streaming avatars are going to be compatible with the system from day one. That means anyone with a VTuber model can jump straight into the action. He knows this is going to trigger a massive spike in VTuber accounts. And with that giant surge, the general player base will skyrocket too. Some users will just want to meet their favorite virtual creators in-game, while others will turn into the creepy stalker types obsessing over internet idols. He recalls that despite the massive player base, the game's early progression was slow. Good information was scarce, with only a few scraps floating around social media. Where's greedy corporate sites snatched up individual strategies without asking, dumping them straight onto their wiki pages. Then a wave of lazy copycats would steal those same guides, make minor changes, and repost them on their own pages while claiming the work was original. Itsuki smirks, a slightly wicked grin spreading across his face. He holds knowledge of the future, something no one else has, making him completely unmatched. This is his golden opportunity to rise, just like those classic regression stories, where a total nobody transforms into a top-tier legendary player. Now the only question is how he will use this edge to rewrite his destiny. So he builds his character, spending his very last savings on streaming equipment. Honestly, watching him go live for the very first time has me incredibly hyped. Hoping for massive success, he names his character Tsukumaru, but there is one weird detail. For some reason, he is completely naked, just like Gray from Fairy Tail. Naturally, viewers start flooding his comment section almost immediately. A lot of them are trolling him for tripping the second he spawns. He quickly explains that he is no troll, just thought showing up naked was funny. Of course, that explanation only fuels the trolls, and his chat is ruthless. They unanimously agree he looks like a total discount version of Naked Snake. Within minutes, 12 people are already watching, which is great for a new channel. He lays out the strategy behind his naked run and brings up his stats. His setup is completely min-maxed for a specialized evasion build, dumping every single free attribute point straight into his agility stat. This setup would be totally useless if he put on any weapons or armor. For hardcore gamers, going naked is classic. If you never get hit, you win. Still, he makes sure to warn his viewers that this style cannot last forever. Anyone trying this will eventually need a special stat rebuild coupon. That way, they can swap to a proper speed leveling build later on. Luckily, the Meta Sense system hands out one free stat reset to everyone. Stats every single time they level up, which sounds great for building the perfect character, but if someone distributes those stats like they have got their brains stored in their kneecaps, they will end up with a trash build that could easily rival Sakura for sheer uselessness to prevent walking disasters. The system hands over a free reset coupon, letting them relocate all their stats once. Better use it wisely, because if you burn it and still want to change again, you will need a rare item that costs more than dignity. After getting one-shotted in a tutorial zone, his quick lecture gets the viewers hooked and the chat starts buzzing. Next, he announces he is going shopping. Usually new players are flat broke and struggle to afford even cheap leftovers that even garbage men would reject, but for some weird reason he is sitting on 3,000 coins, so no slumming today. He is not after shiny gear, either just some basic items from a street stall, bending down to check out the goods. The old shopkeeper turns around and his 4 eyes practically pop right out of his skull at the sight of a naked player crouching right in front of him. The merchant demands to know why he is running naked in broad daylight, asking if he just respawned after dying. Tsukumaru, without missing a single beat, replies he is naked for official business, as if that explains anything at all. While looking through the stall, Tsukumaru notices something pretty strange. There are 0 poison amulets for sale, which shocks him because even garbage level items are usually displayed somewhere. When he asks about it, the old merchant hesitates, admitting he actually has them but never displays them because absolutely nobody with a working brain would buy them. Tsukumaru's eyes light up instantly. Without a second thought, he decides to buy every single one for 3,000 coins, basically luxury prices for dumpster trash. Tsukumaru is desperate to get these amulets because they are among the earliest craftable alchemy items around. The ingredients are so incredibly cheap that players can easily mass produce them just to level up their crafting skills. The catch is the actual poison amulet is completely useless. Low-level monsters can easily be beaten without it. Most early enemies just laugh off poison, making this item a classic example of way too much supply and 0 actual demand. Knowing this, the old merchant dumps a massive pile of amulets on him, looking like he is just handing out garbage. Tsukumaru beams with pure excitement, happily thanking the merchant for his generosity. Anyone watching can tell the old guy is just showing pity. To this clueless customer who bought digital trash instead of pants. Even his chat catches on, with one viewer asking what in the world he plans to do with useless gear. I would ask the same. He heads toward the forest of trolls and explains to the stream that they usually spawn here. With the recommended level being over 10, grinning widely, he tells everyone he is only level 1, which instantly sets the chat on fire. Walking forward, he considers himself lucky to find the zone completely empty so he can farm without any distractions. Trolls are notoriously tough opponents for early players due to their insane physical damage and massive health pools. In fact, even high-level fighters will die if they take them head-on. He wanders deeper, completely naked, but somehow not a single bug or insect dares to bite him. Even though this place looks like a budget version of the Amazon. Slinking forward, he catches nearby voices and immediately starts worrying about his efficiency. If other players are around, his farming rates will drop significantly. Creeping slightly closer, he spots a bizarre-looking guy with a terrible haircut. His spiky hair looks exactly like a transplant from a half-plucked chicken. He is threatening a cute but terrified girl, demanding all her items. "Give them all up or die," he yells. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru just watches. Surprisingly, our naked streamer is pretty impressed by that ridiculous chicken head hairstyle. No way that stupid haircut came preloaded, meaning this lunatic custom made it himself. The bully brandishes his giant axe, warning her absolutely not to log out. "Disconnect and your character stays behind, so just give it up." He licks his axe like a low-budget horror villain and threatens her. "I have no patience," he snaps, but Tsukumaru is just amused. His eyes light up like an excited kid at an arcade. He is actually impressed by the manually executed axe-licking animation. Should he intervene? Nah, he just turns around and leaves. He decides to go grind instead, making the chat burst into laughter. "Help me," the girl screams, immediately alerting the chicken-headed thug. The robber instantly spins around, fully prepared to threaten his target. But seeing Tsukumaru completely naked makes him burst out laughing. He mocks the lack of armor, but Tsukumaru just chuckles along. Our hero starts walking away, and the bully lets him go without fighting. "Beating up a broke, half-naked rookie is completely pointless," he sneers. Then he starts talking in a mocking baby voice. The chat explodes. They tell Tsukumaru to ignore him, since he would easily win a fair fight. After reading those chat comments, Tsukumaru suddenly stops dead. He turns around slowly, asking if they think this humiliation is normal. Normally he would let it slide, but trash talk crosses the line. Now he has completely changed his mind, because this is absolute disrespect. Pointing right at the camera, he makes a bold promise. "Like and subscribe if I completely trash this chicken head." This will officially mark the beginning of a brand new series. Hunting down toxic players will wipe the smirk off his face. That direct challenge instantly wipes the smug look off his face. As Tsukumaru speaks to his stream, the thug charges with his axe. He swings with full force, but the viewers are unimpressed. Honestly, the viewers fully expected a predictable move like this. The thug mocks him, thinking he scored an instant one-hit kill. But Tsukumaru suddenly materializes right behind him like a ghost. The bully completely freezes in shock, frantically looking around for him. He looks completely bewildered, but Tsukumaru predicted this move. A heavy strike is a simple starter skill with low mana cost. It deals decent damage per second, but it is super lazy. Beginners spam it constantly. He explains this to his viewers. Most low-level players just smash that button until level 10. That dodge says everything about his skill level. If Tsukumaru had taken that massive hit head-on, he would already be sitting at the respawn point. Tsukumaru smirks and tells the chicken boy that it is his turn now, tossing a poison amulet straight at his face. The health drop is so tiny it is almost insulting, like Usopp trying to throw hands with Goku, his opponent. Bursts out laughing and mocks Tsukumaru, for thinking that pathetic little throw would scare him, bragging that he will take him down 100 times before the poison even starts to kick in. Tsukumaru keeps taunting him, asking if he always fights like a newbie stuck in the tutorial, which only makes this clown even angrier. He swings his weapon again, but Tsukumaru easily pulls back to dodge. He turns to his viewers, explaining that he is about to teach them how to make fighters completely useless. When the big guy tries a sneaky heavy strike from behind, Tsukumaru instantly triggers backstab, dodging the blow and tossing another poison amulet with a grin. He lectures his viewers to use backstab the exact moment they see the startup motion of a heavy strike, since it lines up perfectly to counter. The move, backstab, he explains, is a thief skill that lets you dash backward to escape, working perfectly against a heavy strike because of its incredibly short reach. On top of that, both skills share the exact same cooldown, meaning the trade is always in his favor. The aggressive goon keeps spamming the exact same heavy strike, and Tsukumaru keeps easily dodging while tossing amulets, casually telling his viewers that a heavy strike works fine against basic mobs in player versus environment fights, but is completely useless in player versus player. After a while, the heavy attacker starts looking totally defeated. Honestly, you have to almost feel bad for him while Tsukumaru keeps tagging him every single time, telling him this feels more like a Rock Lee training exercise than a real fight. He even adds that the guy's accuracy is so bad, even stormtroopers would be ashamed of him. Tsukumaru explains that this is the effect of the poison amulet, which is a targeted attack with a 100% hit rate, apparently to balance the fact that it takes so long to poison someone to death that it feels like waiting for your brother to come out of the bathroom. To keep it from being completely useless, the developers made it undodgeable. He looks at the guy's health bar and decides to take his leave, but the ugly goon, now wheezing like an old PlayStation 2 fan, stops him while barely able to breathe. Tsukumaru tells him to calm down and think. If he somehow takes him down against all odds, will he even make it back alive with that low health? If he wins, he is bound to drop dead somewhere along the way, losing everything in the process. Tsukumaru adds that if he dies, he will also get slapped with the death penalty and drop all his loot, making the whole fight as pointless as trying to speedrun a loading screen. Suddenly, Tsukumaru remembers something and smirks, reminding him that he will also lose his accumulated experience points, which he totally deserves. The creepy guy freezes and stares at him like he just found his long-lost crush. Tsukumaru gets completely creeped out and warns him not to look at him like that, since he is just a beginner with nothing but poison amulets. However, if someone can heal him, he might actually make it back alive. The girl he was threatening earlier is the healer, and Tsukumaru hints that she needs to be spared if the ugly guy wants to survive. The viewers watch as just like that, the tables turn as the chicken boy folds fast. He drops to his knees before the girl, begging her to heal him. The ugly guy quickly switches up his tone, putting on a pitiful act. He apologizes for trying to strike her, begging for mercy out of the kindness of her heart. But Tsukumaru is not buying this routine at all. He starts poking at him, pointing out how he dragged her through hell and now expects free help like nothing even happened. He asks if the guy even understands sincerity, but the chicken boy slips back into making childish threats. Tsukumaru just presses harder until the man agrees to pay compensation for the trouble he caused. The guy goes full submission mode at last, which actually earns a nod of approval from Tsukumaru. The girl, however, looks incredibly tense, like a student facing a panel of grumpy judges. She opens up her menu and starts fumbling through it in a panic. Clearly lacking any hotkeys for her spells, Tsukumaru just stares, wondering if she is literally speedrunning a tutorial on how to be slow. After an eternity, she finally manages to select the healing spell. Bright light radiates from her staff as she aims it at the chicken boy, right as he is about to receive it. The guy takes back every nice word, laughing and mocking them for being so gullible. He even boasts that he will strike them down the second he is fully recovered. But instead of a heal, he gets blasted with intense holy light, a beam. So sudden it is like the magical equivalent of a low blow, cutting straight across his chest and knocking him out cold. Tsukumaru gives her a big thumbs up, deeply impressed by what looks like a perfectly timed backstab. Honestly, you can't even blame him for thinking she just pulled off a savage move of the day until she ruins the moment, admitting she just mixed up her spells. Tsukumaru stares in sheer disbelief because that play looked incredibly deliberate. It was smooth enough to get her hired as a raid boss. The defeated bad guy vanishes, leaving a single tombstone behind. This immediately makes the poor girl panic. Tsukumaru tells her to relax, reminding her of the chicken boy's toxic threats. He asks how she could ever believe a single word from a player like that. Unless she is secretly Luffy, trusting every random stranger with a big smile. He explains that the guy never had any intention of keeping his word anyway. He points out that they were literally the victims of a murder attempt here. So fighting back was entirely justified, but she still hesitates, clearly torn. She is not entirely sure why taking him down was necessary. Tsukumaru clarifies that the guy only died inside the game world. He just loses some experience and loot, a tiny slap on the wrist. That is a tiny penalty for trying to player kill them. Suddenly, the chat floods with comments calling his logic a total lie. Tsukumaru is just shocked that she wanted to help the guy, wondering if she is too kind or just naive. Right on cue, the chicken boy's loot drops above his tombstone. The girl gasps, asking if they are actually going to go grave robbing. Tsukumaru just shakes his head. He tells her it is not grave robbing when the game literally drops rewards from defeated enemies. He calls it the winner's right. Next, he openly questions if she has ever played this game before. She could barely cast the right spell and has 0 hotkeys set up. Even a kid would organize before playing. She admits she cannot remember the controls, awkwardly thanking him and apologizing for all the trouble she caused. That is when Tsukumaru suddenly remembers his plan for this whole event. He set this up to help her, but his chat immediately starts laughing. It looked like he enjoyed beating up that guy way too much. Tsukumaru just waves, proudly declaring that having fun is a natural side effect. While bragging, Tsukumaru starts browsing through the defeated guy's loot. He instantly realizes there is absolutely nothing worth keeping in here. Just total trash items that perfectly match that ugly spiky-haired chicken boy. He asks the girl why that loser was even bothering her. She explains the guy kept harassing her for a key she possessed. When she shows it, his eyes light up like he found a shiny Charizard card. That is the legendary key to the Mansion of Serenity dungeon. It is for level 11, with only 128 hours left. After that, it becomes useless. He asks how she even found it. She casually replies that she just stumbled on it while solo leveling. Tsukumaru freezes. A healer going solo is already a complete disaster. Yet somehow she snags a god-tier item out of absolute pure luck. Something even Jinwoo would sweat over. She asks if it is actually good. Tsukumaru explains that this key grants her exclusive rights to the dungeon. If she lands a rare drop or invents a unique strategy, she is set. She could post it online and watch the massive clicks roll in. A streamer could hide this behind a members-only broadcast and explode their channel. Since it is an S-rank dungeon, get this, the hype is absolutely unreal. The views would easily rival Mr. Beast, and she would make insane money. Instead of getting excited, she just stares back with a blank face. It is the exact look you give someone rambling about One Piece when you have never watched it. Tsukumaru stares at her in complete disbelief, feeling utterly stunned. How can she hold this treasure and not know its worth? He offers a trade. He will pay whatever she wants. Naturally, the chat calls him a scammer. They joke he cannot even buy bread, but then he pulls out massive cash. He looted it right from that deleted chicken boy. Still, it is not enough. It is not enough, she tries to speak, but he interrupts. He promises to give her all the items he gets from the dungeon. Because as a raw beginner, holding onto the key is just a waste. She cannot monopolize it alone. In his head, he knows the truth. There is no way a newcomer survives an S-rank run anyway. Completely confident she will accept, he waits eagerly for her answer. Instead, she says she will give him the key if they run it together. Tsukumaru completely freezes. He stares at her in pure shock. It is like asking for a blindfolded raid with internet from 2005. Seeing his silence, she assumes the deal is off. He has zero interest in carrying a newbie, so he warns her about the danger. Despite the low-level tag, the actual difficulty is completely insane. It demands perfect strategy and precision, which she definitely lacks right now. He insists that clearing it won't do her any good, but when she refuses to back down, he bluntly admits he wouldn't enjoy clearing a dungeon with someone this terrible at the game. That insult hits her like an arrow straight to the chest. Showing her vulnerable side, she admits she really is awful and her old team ditched her because of it. Seeing this, his chat starts reacting with pure pity, flooded with messages about how rough it is to get abandoned like that. Tsukumaru tells her to study walkthrough videos, but she claims she has already tried them all and still failed miserably. He suggests she should practice more before even thinking about a dungeon run, promising she will eventually improve. Then, like a total dirtbag, he reaches for the key like snatching candy from a baby, but she pulls it back and begs him to teach her how to actually play well so she can beat the dungeon herself. He pulls back too, genuinely wondering why he would ever do that for her. She points out that he wants the key too. He glances at his chat and notices most of his viewers are siding with her, which instantly puts him in a tough spot. But wait, his eyes catch the viewer count, and it is spiking insanely high. He figures someone must have clipped his fight with the chicken boy, turning it into massive free publicity. Normally, he would celebrate going viral, but right now he is cornered. If he refuses her and tries to take it by force or player kill her, he will get roasted harder than Yamcha after the Seibaman fight, so he does a complete 180, flipping his look from smug to supportive and agrees to help her level up. He tells her she needs to get ready for the grind, and she beams with an incredibly cute expression that screams beginner energy. He then turns to his viewers in front of the tomb and wraps up the stream, hoping they enjoyed the chaos even if it went a little off script, and reminds them to like and subscribe. Do not forget to subscribe. She tilts her head in absolute confusion, wondering why this idiot is talking to a grave, while the chat floods with positive comments and promises to watch him again. But Tsukumaru feels totally drained, even though he has not even started her training yet. He just wanted to stream his own solo grind. Still, when he thinks about it, a broadcast about helping a beginner is not the worst content, since he ultimately got the right to challenge the dungeon. He is still holding the winning card. He snaps back into his rude tone and tells her he can help her speed level, but she will be the butt of the joke in his stream, asking if she is okay with that. She panics and says she is streaming too, so he does not need to worry. Now he understands why she clung so hard to those keys. Anyway, he explains that speed leveling is important, but they need the right approach if she wants to make her stream blow up, even with amazing content like a Monopoly dungeon walkthrough. The number of views still depends on how it is packaged. She wants to know how to present and edit it, and for that she insists they meet in person. They agree on a place and time for the meeting. When the day arrives, he walks to the location while thinking about how recklessly he agreed to meet up. He knows that people who act sweet in games are often toxic disasters in real life, so he is pretty wary of how she will turn out. As soon as he walks in, his jaw drops so low it practically hits the floor. Standing right there is Yuka, the incredibly ruthless, sharp-tongued nightmare from his past. Except now she is acting all sweet and cute, like some innocent anime heroine. It is wild, considering he remembers her having the raw personality of a brutal raid boss. Noticing his completely stunned look, she gets flustered and asks what is wrong with him. He instantly fires back, calling her way too naive for someone who ruined his life before. Terrible memories flash by. His personal streaming channel got banned. He was forced to work as a low-tier player for some bargain bin gaming company. Back then, he literally made a detailed spreadsheet to help improve her voice acting. But she just complained it was way too hard to read and demanded a total rewrite. Even worse, he had to play with ridiculous in-game restrictions just to match her nonsense. He literally had to learn how to move like a girl on screen. Apparently his regular moves were not cute enough, and after all that hard work. Their toxic manager praised her when views went up, but blamed him whenever they dropped. To make things even worse, some other attention-seeking girl slid right in. She swooped in and stole his hard work. Honestly, his past career was just one painful disaster. But get this, the surprisingly cute version of Yuka suddenly tilts her head. She asks if they have ever met before, instantly dragging him back to reality. He remembers that everything happened in a past timeline, but he is still pretty suspicious. He is convinced she will become that arrogant villainess again. He bows slightly. He thanks her, wraps up the meeting, and says he will send her the results. He promises to send the results later, then he spins around like he is escaping a monster. He desperately hopes she takes her streaming career somewhere far away from him. Suddenly, she grabs his arm to stop him, but he flinches back like she is electric. He acts like her touch could ruin his stats. Surprisingly, she lets go. That catches him off guard. She is not giving him her usual smug look. Instead, she looks genuinely apologetic. He awkwardly mentions that he is heading home. He asks if she is fine with that. She softly admits she feels like she offended him. Since she thinks she upset him, she says she has no right to hold him back. He is totally stunned. Why is she acting so polite when she has no clue what is wrong? Honestly, right now, she looks less like an evil boss and way more like some rookie. Just a nervous rookie trying not to get ratioed online. Wait, what? She stammers, asking what she would even say. He tells her she could easily use a bunch of standard tricks to force his hand. For starters, she could refuse to let him into the dungeon unless he agrees to cooperate. Or she could remind him about their promise to play on stream together. She could say breaking his promise would totally ruin his channel views. She could even threaten to post this awkward interaction online to make him look bad. Hearing this, she panics and insists she would never do something so extreme. Tsukumaru can barely believe his ears because he remembers her perfectly. She would have used all 3 threats without blinking. He bluntly says she used to be an absolute monster with zero empathy. But she keeps insisting this is their very first meeting. The reality finally clicks. He quickly apologizes, explaining that she just looks like someone who deeply traumatized him. After all, in his mind, past Yuka was basically the ultimate final boss of evil. Gaslighting, while the current Yuka feels like she is completely stuck on the tutorial stage. They head into the restaurant to keep the meeting going, but his mind keeps looping back to how different her current self is from the future menace. He remembers, still, he suspects she is just another clout chaser who cares more about views than actually learning the game. He starts explaining that he will carry the dungeon run while she just chimes in now and then with commentary. She cuts him off. She wants to actually be strong enough to help in the raid. Even if it is impossible, she wants to try. He freezes for a second, trying to process how her entire character arc is somehow moving. Faster than Sakura's ever did. It is possible, he says, but takes massive effort, so they must play to their strengths to keep the audience locked in. She nods, agreeing that she gets the value of views, but she still wants to get genuinely good when she asks if that is a bad idea. Sukumaru looks like someone just told him his crush died right mid-date. He wonders when she started caring about others' opinions instead of just forcing her own ideas, leaving him stuck between worry and respect, nearly breaking his brain. Over the whole thing, the girl who once acted like a villainous boss fight is now radiating total sidekick energy. She takes what Sukumaru says and bluntly demands he train her and conquer this dungeon by her side. He catches on, instantly realizing she means if he refuses, she is blocking him from entering the raid. Well, she seems decent enough, so he decides on a trial run. They head back to the troll forest to prepare for their leveling stream. She asks how they are going to level up, and he explains they are hunting slightly stronger monsters. It is a bit tricky, but totally doable if. She nods, totally determined. She says she is unusually hyped because her dream is finally within arm's reach. She watched the cool streams of Galia and the reliable Raychan, which inspired her to start broadcasting, but doing it alone completely tanked, since Tsukumaru did not call it impossible, only that it took effort. She is giving it her absolute all. He quickly realizes she cannot learn on her own and needs someone to hold her hand. Basically, she is the human equivalent of that lazy student who only shows up once the slides are done. Talk about a nightmare partner. She is hyped up, telling him to start the broadcast, but he is already live. He figured she was about to drop an epic speech like Captain Irwin rallying his troops, so he hit record early to capture that perfect intro hook. Viewers instantly flood the chat, laughing at the chaotic start, while one says, "It is typical behavior from the heretic who went live without warning her." He gets slightly annoyed by the roast, but the broadcast is off to a solid start. If anything, the chat clowning him is just free engagement. Still, Yuka stays in his mind as he wonders what went so terribly wrong to change her in the future. She had the talent to debut as a virtual YouTuber, but got stuck with him during his massive flame war. She became a voice actor, unable to stream what she wanted. And despite giving up everything, their views absolutely tanked. That trash manager roasted them both. If none of that nightmare happened, maybe she would not have grown so cold. He finally realizes she was just another victim of that garbage company. Her career path was basically a complete speedrun of getting clowned by the entire industry. Shaking off those thoughts, Tsukumaru notes that the viewers are enjoying this stream and she looks more relaxed too. She asks if he acted goofy just for her sake, but he quickly denies it, claiming it makes a good clip. Yuka pouts that he is being mean, and the chat instantly takes her side. Still, she claims there is absolutely nothing to fear. That brave statement immediately backfires when the massive troll boss, towering like a colossal titan, stomps into view. Her confidence evaporates instantly, and honestly, who can blame her? But Tsukumaru remains completely calm, ready to show everyone who the real protagonist is. And the final training session kicks off with Tsukumaru trying to patiently explain what a troll actually is, but Yuka instantly becomes a jump scare victim, grabbing his shoulders like Berthold just kicked down the wall. She shakes him hard, demanding to know their plan, while he coolly replies, "They will hunt this troll and level up." She insists that is impossible. But Tsukumaru drops a cold reality check. Unless she can defeat it, she is better off quitting this dungeon entirely. She finally stops vibrating like a washing machine, takes a deep breath, and declares she will not quit. She bravely steps up to the massive beast like a shonen hero with zero training, only to get yeeted by a single casual swing. Viewers immediately comment that this mission is impossible. Tsukumaru, looking highly embarrassed like a father whose kid just screamed in a grocery store, insists it is doable. He even gives pro gamer advice: always store your items with someone else, because dying like Yuka did is almost guaranteed. She responds in tears, crying that this is literally impossible. Tsukumaru, holding back his frustration better than Endeavor during family therapy, asks her the most critical rule when facing a tough opponent. Yuka happily chirps out bravery, and Tsukumaru generously awards her 10 points, though. Everyone watching knows he actually meant -50. He explains that what she did earlier was not bravery, just pure brainless recklessness. The chat quickly spams that she plays exactly like a tutorial skipping casual gamer, and Tsukumaru sighs heavily before deciding to show her how it is really done. He boots up their troll leveling guide like a random video guide that nobody ever requested. Back in the monster's forest, he explains that at level 1, they cannot scratch its health. The real secret is poison amulets, because while the troll can tank physical weapons, its brain apparently has 0 antivirus installed. Still, one direct hit from it means instant respawn. When the beast swings, Tsukumaru dodges around like he is avoiding major anime spoilers, flexing that the enemy animations are actually slower and much more predictable than standard sports anime pacing. All you need is quick dodging plus poison spam. He keeps up the pressure until the giant finally drops. Yuka sulks that it is only easy for experts, and the viewers clown her, agreeing that her entire gameplay style screams casual. Tsukumaru shifts right back into teacher mode, asking if she understands the most critical lesson now. She guesses dodging but admits she cannot move like him. Wrong again, he explains. It is all about recognizing patterns. He steps forward to show the class. The troll's first move, a downward smash, looks epic, but the hitbox is smaller than EA's promises, so easy dodge. Second, the side swing, which actually really threatens their space. He quickly quizzes the chat on whether they should dodge backward or sideways. The chat keeps arguing, but he shows them the ultimate big brain move is to dodge. Rolling forward right into the boss is peak high-level gameplay. He glides past like messy, humiliating defenders, making the angry giant absolutely lose its mind. It roars, unleashing a triple downward smash, while Tsukumaru calmly explains the pattern. First swing is easy, but rookies always get caught by the second during animation lock. Instead of panicking and rolling away, he sidesteps cleanly to expose the predictable pattern. That fixed left-right front pattern means panicking is just self-sabotage. Anyone who folds under a little pressure would never survive this game. Once the roaring stops, the troll is completely drained of stamina. Time for more poison. He keeps spamming venom until the beast collapses, then smugly claims it was easy. Even his chat has to admit that his crazy breakdown actually makes sense. He reminds Yuka that success is about pattern recognition, not raw reflexes. She nods along, though he secretly knows she will probably panic and freeze up later. He lays down the ultimate rule: if she cannot beat this, she is out. No raid slot for losers. Instead of complaining, she steps right back up to try again. Surprisingly, she listens perfectly, throwing poison and executing clean dodges. For a second, she looks like she is finally graduating from noob to pro. Then the troll throws a completely unscripted move that neither of them has ever seen. Tsukumaru freezes, catching a strangely smug expression on the monster's face. This is no ordinary forest mob. They are facing the legendary Troll King. Shock turns to hype. He smiles, realizing this means amazing stream content. He explains there are always 2 ways to level up in an online game: the paths intended by the developers and the sneaky ones they did not plan for. Farming these trolls is definitely the second type, basically cheating with extra steps. Since broken exploits like this ruin the balance, the developers had to step in. They wanted to crush this exploit fast, but they did not take the boring route. Instead of just nerfing the experience points, they decided to add some spicy chaos. And that chaos is the Troll King. Tsukumaru smirks at the massive beast. He mentions it was not supposed to spawn yet, but luck is on his side. Of course, his chat immediately calls cap and demands to know what he means. That is when he freezes, realizing he accidentally exposed his secret knowledge to everyone. Knowing future events would spark massive drama, and people would call him an insider. Luckily, Yuka cuts in, calling him by his in-game name and asking for help. She wants to know how to handle this insane, high-tier boss with major anger issues. Honestly, we should probably start calling him by his actual name from now on. Tsukumaru just sounds way too heroic for a guy running away like a track star. He instantly bolts the second he spots even a hint of real danger. He shouts for Yuka to follow because his strategy is purely about survival. Dying like a hero is overrated. As they run, the giant launches a heavy charge. The Troll King charges forward, moving with the terrifying speed of a ninja. They narrowly dodge the earth and fire attack, sliding right behind the beast. The stream chat explodes in confusion, while inside his mind, time completely stops. Tsukumaru suddenly remembers a tiny problem. He is completely naked and unequipped. Defeating a boss like this head-on is impossible, so he immediately runs. He screams at Yuka to keep moving because they are definitely not ready. Dressed in a brave warrior cosplay, Yuta notices the troll is motionless and ready. She sees the perfect opening and hurls poison amulets, remembering his earlier advice. She monitors the monster's movements closely, but unfortunately, her grand plan backfires. It turns out this massive troll king is completely immune to poison. Instead of actually hurting the beast, the toxic mist just makes it easier to track them down. Getting frustrated, Yuta demands to know their plan, and Tsukumaru tells her that the only real option left is to keep aiming for the scar near its eye, which is its only real weak point. He leaps high with a single bound, striking the scar with his bare hands. Too bad that is about as effective as slapping a brick wall. Without missing a beat, he screams for Yuka to strike that spot with her holy magic. She charges up her skills and fires at the scar, finally doing some real damage, but that success comes with a cost, as the giant beast immediately turns its full attention on her, spinning its massive weapon like some overpowered anime villain. Unleashing a flashy ultimate attack, Tsukumaru warns Yuka that it is an undodgeable blow and she absolutely must block. Instead of panicking though, she reads the boss's movements and realizes it is just its second attack pattern. She slides forward in a flawless dodge, proving girls in games do way more than heal and just look pretty. Her stream chat barely starts celebrating before the monster pulls off insane reflexes, landing a brutal follow-up blow that sends her straight back to the respawn screen. Her viewers immediately start roasting Tsukumaru, demanding how anyone is supposed to dodge an unfair attack like that. He just shrugs, admitting it is totally impossible without backstep, essentially confirming she never stood a fighting chance. Usually, the tank takes the damage so the backline stays safe, yet here is Tsukumaru, empty-handed and about as threatening as an ant. Picking a fight with a giant elephant, he openly admits he is useless and that the only spells that even scratched the boss were Yuka's. Now that she is gone, they will just respawn back in town. At this pathetic rate, they might actually win sometime next year. He seriously considers dying on purpose just for stream views and returning with a real strategy, but then remembers he is still carrying the rare dungeon key. If he drops it, some random player will snatch it up, ruining this entire run. Meanwhile, his viewers are falling asleep, watching him run around doing absolutely nothing. And he knows he must pull off some miracle before they all close the stream to watch cooking videos. Right on cue, Yuka responds with her signature sweet smile and casually apologizes for taking so long, completely ignoring that she left him alone to fight. Without warning, she throws him a cheap, rusty kitchen knife, telling him to chop up some monsters for a nice soup instead of standing around like a useless piece of garbage. Catching it, he asks if she really went grocery shopping for a knife, explaining why she took so long. She nods without any shame, explaining that those unavoidable attacks make it too difficult to win by yourself, meaning teamwork is mandatory. He opens up his status screen and dumps every single stat point from farming trolls into agility, unlocking 2 new skills. But while he is still messing with his build, Yuka notices the troll has already sprinted right up to them, ready to flatten them both like roadkill. Tsukumaru reacts in a flash, executing a quick backstep to retreat while dragging Yuka out of harm's way, accidentally unlocking an active skill called counter. That skill boosts the power of his next strike right after a successful dodge. He also activates vital point targeting, which increases damage when hitting an enemy's weak spot. Tsukumaru tells Yuka to stay back and watch while he handles things. With his newly improved agility, he dashes forward, leaping up to the trolls. And drives the knife right into the scar. Landing clean, he grins and declares that it is finally time for their counterattack, right after Tsukumaru's strike. Yuka fires her holy light at the scar, instantly pulling the king's attention to herself like she just dropped a new Instagram post. But Tsukumaru, being the narcissist he is, immediately jumps in for a follow-up attack so he can share the spotlight. Together, they keep hammering the monster, dealing enough damage that the king finally bites the dust. Tsukumaru proudly announces that if the front lines and back line work together, bosses like this are easy to beat. Yuka eagerly jots down his lecture like a model student. Meanwhile, the viewers can clearly see she is just an innocent newbie falling for his wisdom act, because 5 minutes ago he was panicking like a man who forgot his wedding anniversary if she had not shown up. With that kitchen knife, they would have been fossils by now. The comments start trolling him hard. Can you even blame them? He quickly tries to explain this area only spawns trolls. If he had known the king would appear, he would have come prepared. Chat does not buy it for a second, saying he would have shown up unprepared anyway, and they actually like how he makes up for his lack of planning with pure skill. Yuka giggles at the way viewers are clowning him, which only makes him realize they are having fun at his expense. He feels like the Joker here, except his stream goal was supposed to be teaching newbies with style. In his head, he imagines her letting out an evil anime laugh, probably planning to roast him later. Feeling petty, he suggests they keep grinding and take on 2 trolls at the same time to boost efficiency. She hesitates, so he tells her to stop whining and basically says they are never leveling up if she keeps this up. He does not care if she cries or laughs. They are grinding until they pass. The chat instantly picks up on the fact that he is clearly just taking out his bruised ego on her. Tsukumaru shuts off the stream and praises Yuka for her hard work, saying things went smoothly even with that little accident, as if she did not get smacked into the respawn screen. Earlier, she lies on the ground, sighing that she is exhausted, but he immediately adds more weight to her shoulders by saying they still have a lot to do after the stream. Then, in a rare act of mercy, he says he will not make it harder for her just for today. He explains there are 2 things on the to-do list. First, they need to split the loot, since they farmed for a while. They have quite a few items from the trolls and the troll king. Yuka is surprised because she thought trolls never dropped anything. He agrees they usually do not, but the king can drop materials that can be crafted into pretty solid gear. Then he announces they even got a rare item, like a kid. Hearing there is cake in the kitchen, Yuka lights up until she sees what it is. Her smile instantly flattens when he reveals it is just the trolls club. He tries to hype it up, explaining that sure, those trolls have incredibly slow attack animations, but their club that isn't a ranked weapon with massive damage. He says it suits her, but quickly takes it back after seeing her face, which looks utterly crushed, like getting rejected in front of her class. Dropping the joke, he admits they have no real use for this troll gear, so they might as well sell it in town for gold. She nods, then asks about the second task. He tells her they need to cut together a highlight clip. The full stream archive is way too long, so they need to extract the actual strategy parts into a separate video. He thinks they should make it catchy, like those Gojo cute moments for 10 straight minutes compilations, so they can push it out to a much bigger audience. She just stares at him, knowing full well most of those highlights will just be her carrying him. Yuka quickly volunteers to handle the editing, which makes Tsukumaru pause and asks if she can actually do it. She begs him not to look down on her, even though she is a total beginner at gaming. She has spent hours watching streams at home, and she even makes fan highlight clips of her favorite streamers. Just like every anime fan online makes music videos of their favorite characters, she says it with so much pride that she almost looks cute enough to pinch, but Tsukumaru cannot help but wonder if that is really something worth bragging about. She catches him staring, which totally creeps her out, and asks if he has something to say. He bluntly tells her it is absolutely not something to be proud of. With that settled, he decides he will handle selling the loot while she focuses on editing the video and uploading it to their channel. Once it is finished, he heads to the beginner town called Town Square, thinking about how selling the items to non-player characters would be a massive loss. Selling to actual players is tougher, but is definitely the better option. The big problem is his complete lack of social connections. Being a massive introvert, so he just sets up his stall and waits to make the deal. Irresistible, he writes a description so loud and flashy that even Tenjin Yuzui would probably tell him to tone it down. Another player strolls by and reads the sign, muttering to themselves that this must be some kind of scam. After all, there is no way someone would just sell rare items out in the open like this. Tsukumaru, being incredibly short-tempered, immediately loses his calm demeanor and starts snapping at them for even daring to call his shop a scam. Then it hits him that he has the customer service skills of a wet cat. His only real talents are mocking and yelling at people. Trying to save face, he quickly backpedals and admits the title looks incredibly suspicious, but swears the items are 100% genuine, straight from the troll itself, and cannot be found anywhere else. The player looks through the inventory and is shocked to see they are actually real. They ask how he even got his hands on them, but Tsukumaru says it is a long story. If they want all the details, they just need to watch his stream archive. Soon they will even be releasing a major highlight video. Wait for it. The player admits they have never even heard of leveling up inside that forest. Tsukumaru smirks and says he designed this method himself. With it, anyone can hit level 10 in just 2 hours. The player shows real interest and agrees to check out the video later, although their eyes give off a pretty shady vibe that screams future trouble. Tsukumaru tries to upsell, asking if they want to buy some materials while they are right here. To his absolute surprise, the buyer agrees to take everything, claiming it is her way of tipping him for that beginner-friendly leveling guide. Tsukumaru's face immediately lights up with a look of pure, greedy satisfaction, resembling a shady doctor making a backdoor deal with a desperate patient. He already looks forward to their next profitable encounter, but as the customer turns around to thank him, he finally realizes this mysterious player is actually a girl with a stunning figure that could easily serve as clickbait for his next video. Tsukumaru wakes up the very next morning to find his phone absolutely blowing up with spam from Yuka. First, she brags about uploading her latest video, and then she drops a link to a different livestream. Curious, he taps on it and is completely stunned to see that the streamer is none other than the wealthy shopper who cleared out his entire inventory. She is actively farming those trolls using the exact method he just shared on stream. Showed her on stream. Later, during a tense video call with Yuka, he learns that this mysterious buyer is actually Ray, a massive gaming streamer on the same level as PewDiePie. Honestly, not knowing her is straight-up gaming blasphemy. Even Yuka freezes for a second, utterly shocked that Tsukumaru has zero clue who Ray is. He tries to defend himself by explaining he only watches professional players. When she asks why, he admits that whenever he leaves helpful tips for casual streamers who mess up, waste their time, angry viewers immediately attack him for giving uninvited opinions. Yuka, trying hard to keep her composure, politely begs him to stop leaving those backseat gaming comments altogether. He complains that it is frustrating, which only pushes her over the edge, causing her to snap at him like an angry wife. lecturing her clueless husband for coming home incredibly late without a call. Faced with that terrifying death glare, he instantly folds, not out of guilt, but for pure self-preservation. Yuka then keeps gushing about Rei, insisting there is absolutely no reason to question her talent. Apparently, Rei is a hardcore gamer who has won major tournaments and is so highly skilled she commentates official pro matches. She is truly baffled that Tsukumaru has somehow managed to never hear of her. But Yuka does not stop there. She keeps talking like she is auditioning to be Rei's main hype manager, stacking up praise like Kendrick dropping a diss track on anyone doubting Rei. Tsukumaru listens just long enough to admit Rei sounds incredible, but what actually impresses him more is Yuka's intense, Olympic-level dedication to absolute fangirling. She finally confesses Rei is her ultimate idol, explaining why she sounds just like an obsessed stan who could probably recite Rei's breakfast menu for the past month. Tsukumaru begins to realize that outside of professional talk, they have never actually held a normal conversation. If they had spent half this energy simply getting to know each other, their teamwork might have been more than just arguing, panicking, and trying to survive. Yuka then mentions how thrilled she is that Rei highlighted their official video on stream, pulling in way more views than expected. She excitedly wonders out loud if they should just pitch a collaboration to Rei, hoping she might actually say yes, but Tsukumaru instantly crushes that dream, telling her to imagine how pathetic it looks when two absolute nobodies ask a massive celebrity for clout. The reality check hits Yuka so hard that she immediately admits they would look completely desperate. Tsukumaru simply nods in agreement. First, they have to grow their channel before even thinking about reaching out to anyone that high up. Yuka starts sulking, asking how they are even supposed to get famous. Tsukumaru reminds her that they still have their ultimate trump card. That dungeon clearing stream of theirs could give them a massive boost in fame overnight. Plus, they are already sitting in the perfect spotlight right now, and all of it is thanks to Rei. It is the perfect time to strike while the iron is hot. Hearing this, Yuka instantly she perks up, flipping back to her cheerful self with a massive promise. A collab with Rei. Tsukumaru tries to stay realistic, since it depends on Rei's schedule, but she has already completely tuned him out. They kick off their next stream with one grand goal set right in front of them. Entering the Mansion of Serenity, he spots a huge change. They have 10 times more viewers, with most of them coming from Rei's stream. He reassures Yuka that she can buy whatever cool items, armor, or weapons she needs, but she just stares at him, unable to take advice from a guy standing there completely naked. To make matters worse, the chat is no help. They start roasting his bare body, laughing at how he shines like a cheap fluorescent tube. Tsukumaru tries to defend himself, arguing they cannot afford to compromise on weapons. And on top of that, they still need to stock up on emergency gear. He explains that given their skill level, armor comes second. With that exact logic in mind, this naked setup is inevitable. The viewers follow his reasoning, but one comment suddenly calls it logical harassment. That comment instantly sets him off. He gets triggered, furious actually. Harassment part stays the same no matter how much logic he uses. Yuka just sighs, having already lost all hope of him wearing clothes. Together, they step straight into the dungeon with mismatched, cheap gear, immediately spotting something floating. Tsukumaru recognizes the monster as a basic will-o-wisp and notices a random chat comment claiming these ghosts are completely immune to any physical damage. He charges forward, slices them cleanly in half to make his point. Sure, ghost monsters usually shrug off physical strikes, but there is a trick. Giving them a hint, he tells the stream that something is totally different about him today. The chat starts inspecting his screen model closely, looking like actual detectives. Noticing his body is glowing, even though he is naked. He quickly clarifies, it is not some weird light to censor him. Once his temporary buff wears off, he backs away and tells Yuka to show off her brand new skill for the viewers, though she clearly has no desire to join this weird dynamic. She has no choice. She activates her holy breath skill on him, sending an absolute explosion of light right through him. Suddenly, he looks like a budget Super Saiyan, with wild gold energy radiating everywhere. The chat asks if it is just some weird ghost-scaring tactic, but he explains. It is actually a buff that boosts both damage and defense against specific monsters by 1.5 times, lasting ages with barely any mana cost. Perfect for this run, more damage dealt, less taken. When asked about his actual defense stat, he proudly states his base is 2, bringing his grand total to a whopping 3 points. Then he adds that he dodges everything anyway, making the buff mostly a fashion choice. The chat is loving his logic, and some realize he might be a real pro, hiding behind that weird, glowing troll avatar on their screens. Tsukumaru proudly brags they are pretty lucky he made Yuka take that minor skill, allowing them to counter the enemy waves so easily. When the chat begs for details, he starts lecturing them like a professor. He explains dungeon names. If the key says Forte, it means soldier types are coming. If it says cave, then they are dealing with goblins or orcs, and the name Serenity tipped him off about this exact place, warning him it is packed with creepy floating ghosts like some spooky anime. Meanwhile, the word mansion always points to annoying magicians or sneaky vampires that love attacking from blind spots. He easily solved the dungeon beforehand. The amazed viewers admit they have never seen this info on any wiki. Naturally, Tsukumaru takes this perfect chance to absolutely roast the game wikis. He calls them garbage bins for lazy players who do not want to think it is just copy-pasted info from people who cannot even finish a tutorial. Naturally, the comment section is completely split down the middle. Half of them are laughing, but they all love his brutally direct attitude. Even if it makes him kind of unlikable, it is highly entertaining. But the real secret is he is using cheat codes from the future. He obviously cannot reveal that, so he tells them to start using their brains before those brains turn into ancient fossils like some forgotten old king. Meanwhile, Yuka stands there silently praying for him to get cancelled. That way she can play in peace. Soon, they reach a massive chamber. Yuka asks if it is some sort of laboratory, but he knows better. Tsukumaru knows it is the boss room. Right on cue, the enemy appears. The villain says they arrived at the perfect moment for his evil experiments. He needs them kept alive just to collect data on his latest research. But Tsukumaru fires back, telling him his time is already up. The chat is torn. Will he win or get absolutely wrecked? Thinking he might actually pull this off or become floor decoration. In the next 2 minutes, meanwhile, Yuka decides her best move is not, but by crouching down and cheering him on like a loyal fan. Tsukumaru, being the ultimate troll, tells the boss his plan is ruined, and the one destroying it will be none other than Yuka herself. She's still on the sidelines acting like a hyper cheerleader. When he points at her, her soul literally leaves her body in terror. No, please no, she screams, the boss confidently claims. He says ruining his plan is impossible, and Yuka immediately agrees with him. She is so terrified, she tries to play nice before the fight even starts. Suddenly, the boss splashes muddy fluid everywhere, summoning a weak skeleton army. These skeletons are so fragile, they basically fall apart on their own. As the clattering bones crawl forward, Yuka casts holy light on Tsukumaru. She is clearly trying to set him up for a major hero moment. Instead, he dodges it completely and tells her she must handle this. She is left wondering what absurd plan he has cooked up this time. As he tries to plan their next move, a skeleton shuffles over and takes a swing. She flinches back with her hands raised high, looking ready to surrender. But instead of pressing the attack, the skeleton just stands there staring at her. It acts like she just cast a spell, but Tsukumaru steps in and kicks the monster into dust, leaving enough calcium powder to fortify a week of cereal. He brags about destroying these mobs without breaking a single sweat, but she snaps back, complaining he did not bother saving her earlier. He points out that with his tiny knife, he can only fight one skeleton at a time. No matter how strong he is, an endless battle is just bad business. Sure, he could clear the room, but then this would not be a helpful guide. For their viewers, and surprisingly, the stream audience actually buys his reasoning. They love how he uses content creation to avoid actual work, while Yuka sighs. She admits she lacks high-tier attack spells, but he reminds her of a gift. The special item from their last run is their ticket to an easy win. With that, he dumps the entire skeleton horde right in her lap. Talk about a bad group partner, leaving all the heavy lifting to her. As she freezes in absolute terror, he starts a quick coaching session, asking her what the golden rule is when facing a fresh opponent. She rattles off the basics, which are to watch their moves, counter, and stay calm. And yet, looking at the approaching mob, she still doubts her skills. He tries to build her up, reminding her she survived before with just him. Even he was surprised by her skill back then. Hearing this, she pulls herself together and readies her stance, casting holy breath for a quick buff. With burning determination, she steps forward just as a skeleton charges. She dodges the attack effortlessly, realizing that keeping a cool head is key. When she actually observes them, their attacks are way slower than trolls. The chat is honestly impressed, realizing she developed these crazy reflexes. After surviving so many troll encounters, dodging these bones is easy. The skeleton boss just smirks, summoning an even larger wave of monsters. Curious to see how long she survives, but she declares it is her turn. She swings the massive troll club, a weapon so huge it looks like it defies gravity, and completely obliterates them, stunning the viewers who never expected this drop. Who knew a random troll would actually leave behind such an overpowered weapon? The boss admits her strength is real, but claims she is still open. One minion manages to land a strike near her neck, but she barely flinches under her active holy defense buff, crushing the monster instantly. Now she is going full anime protagonist mode, shredding the undead. Tearing through the horde like a true warrior, she feels incredibly strong. But the arrogant boss remains calm, thinking he still holds all the cards. He slams his staff down to summon another massive horde, but nothing. Absolutely nothing happens. Turns out, someone was busy behind the scenes. Tsukumaru suddenly appears right behind him, having worked off camera. While the boss focused entirely on Yuka, his back was left wide open. Tsukumaru slaps a magic sealing amulet on him, completely blocking his summons. With his abilities shut down, Tsukumaru leaps forward to finish this. He aims to end the beast with a dagger to the throat, but the giant has a nasty trick left. He drops low, hammering the stone and sending heavy boulder shards tearing through the air. Tsukumaru leaps back just in time, but a hail of jagged rocks pelts, his body leaving him in rough shape. Even his chat is completely stunned, because they have never seen this guy take a real hit before. He usually just dances away. He checks his last dagger strike, which did literally 0 damage. Instantly, he reads the monster scheme. The dungeon forces you to build defense against endless skeleton waves, leaving you completely helpless when the actual boss steps up to fight. Right on cue, the Titan tears away his dark cloak, showing off a chest built like he has been training under Master Netero himself. Grinning, the giant asks if he is a coward. Tsukumaru just laughs and says he absolutely loves a brutal challenge, a bold claim, considering he spent most of the run letting Yuka handle the tough stuff. Suddenly, he pulls up his system menu for his chat to see. Everyone is horrified because his basic stats are trash and he has 0 skills. Surviving this deep with a blank setup is downright impossible. Is he an actual gaming genius or just completely unhinged? He tells them. He was only holding back to study the enemy's attack patterns. He fully expected a trap from a boss like this. Now that the test is over, he dumps his points and unlocks everything at once. Talk about a power-up, the boss just laughs at his confidence and swings again, asking what a dying weakling can even hope to do. But Tsukumaru uses his tiny avatar to slip right under the blow, springing upward to drive his blade deep into the monster's collarbone. He proudly yells that this is where he shines. He has activated a passive called Will of the Dying, which kicks in when health is extremely low, letting him deal massive clutch damage, just like Hu Tao. Yet the giant just roars with laughter, the big reveal barely even scratched his thick skin. It would take at least 100 hits to win. Tsukumaru actually likes those odds, but admits the stream might get bored watching him slowly chip away at a health bar like a budget gamer. Luckily, he has more tricks ready. The beast attacks again, and he slips past, rapidly chaining his newly unlocked skills. He lands an armor break to shred defense, then goes for a backstab. The resulting critical hit is so incredibly small, it looks like a mosquito bite on a dinosaur. Someone in the live chat asks why he is not just upgrading strength, and he starts lecturing them on combat math against high defense monsters. Building for critical hits actually yields much higher damage per second. The theory sounds brilliant, except his super high damage is still doing pocket change. Frustrated, the monster swings a wild punch, hoping for a lucky hit, but Tsukumaru easily slides under to land another crit. Wearing a truly wicked grin, he wonders how many more crits the boss can handle. Honestly, his own stream is starting to wonder who is the actual boss. Tsukumaru smacks the boss around again, easily dodging a heavy swing of his massive arm. But then the monster pulls out a grimoire, and its sudden glow screams trouble. Tsukumaru braces himself, expecting some incredibly dangerous spell to drop. Even with the sealing magic active, he gets ready, but the boss just throws the book. He chucks it like an angry librarian, and Tsukumaru just bursts out laughing. It is easily the dumbest move of the fight, so he immediately goes on the offensive. He cuts the boss down until that health bar is just a tiny, pathetic sliver, like the last crumb of a candy bar stuck inside the wrapper, up until now. Tsukumaru figured this boss was just a weird old guy playing with dirty skeleton bones. But he is just a meathead who throws rare magical items like rocks. One more critical hit and he is done. Completely dead, just like his bony army. Right then, the boss smirks and says time is up. The magic seal suddenly fades, and the undead army comes crawling right back. Tsukumaru finally gets it. Those long attack animations were never actually mistakes, but a brilliant plan to time a coordinated strike with his massive skeleton swarm. Now a wall of sharp bones is closing in, and his dodge skill is still on cooldown. One hit and it is game over. He considers going for one last critical strike. But with only a 30% chance to land, it is an incredibly risky gamble. The boss begins mocking him for failing when he was only a single hit from victory, telling him to blame his own weakness for not finishing the job, but Tsukumaru just grins. He laughs and claims everything is going exactly according to plan. He says every single frame-perfect dodge was not just to look cool on screen, but a deliberate tactic to boost his critical rate to the absolute limit. This is how he wins, right alongside his lady Yuka, who is stepping up to show off. She smashes the skeletons like she is sweeping crumbs off a table, then casts a holy spell on Tsukumaru to make him completely invincible. He instantly puffs up his chest, declaring every move so far was part of his genius. Just like Aizen pretending he had scripted every single second of the show. He claims it was obvious the magic sealing spell would eventually wear off. That is why he trained his girlfriend to clear the field before the timer expired. Honestly, he sounds way more proud of having a girlfriend than the actual strategy. The boss gets completely irritated and refuses to go down without a fight. Flexing his massive, muscular arms, he charges in for one final desperate attack. But Tsukumaru unleashes his full skill combo to completely shatter the boss's armor and land the ultimate finishing blow. The dungeon is finally cleared. Tsukumaru raises his hand to high-five Yuka, totally forgetting she did all the heavy lifting. And they finally receive their loot, a rare map fragment leading to the end of the world. The path to the truth will only unlock for those who gather every single piece. Honestly, this sounds exactly like a road poneglyph from One Piece. Tsukumaru has never seen this kind of legendary item drop before. Probably because he died before he ever got the chance to raid high-level dungeons. What shocks him even more is the unique effect that makes the item completely invisible. This is not just some normal black box sensor to prevent story spoilers either. It feels like the game system itself is actively hiding its existence. He suddenly recalls a rumor about top-tier players monopolizing these secret items. Some old rumors about a hidden item. Back then, it just sounded like random conspiracy fuel. Pure gossip without proof. He even dug through every single info site but found absolutely nothing. Now he gets why. If this item was designed to be invisible to streams, screenshots, and external cameras, it makes perfect sense that no one has ever posted about it. He figures it is a confidential drop meant to be monopolized. That realization instantly boosts his massive ego. He is now sitting on the exact kind of secret the top players have been hoarding. Just then, cheerful Yuka bounces over and asks what is wrong with him. Tsukumaru freezes, knowing that if she reacts the wrong way, the hidden map will be exposed to the stream. Since he cannot just tell her to act natural without making it look suspicious, he decides to pull some classic magician misdirection to shift her attention. He tells her they just got an ultra-rare drop called the Bracelet of Obsession of the Mad Researcher. The name alone makes him sound way cooler just by holding it. According to him, it was created by some insane sorcerer like the infamous Dr. Vegapunk, who experimented with manipulating life itself and eventually found a way to alter his own. The bracelet activates a physical enhancement skill that literally triples physical attack, evasion, and critical hit rate for 90 seconds, but disables all armor completely. Tsukumaru is genuinely impressed, calling it another incredibly overpowered item he never expected to find. Yuka, however, points out the glaring issue. With armor disabled, the wearer is left completely defenseless during those 90 seconds, making it incredibly risky to use. Tsukumaru just grins and says it is perfect for him since he has been naked and defenseless from the start. The confidence in his voice makes it sound less like a strategy and more like he wants to win the most naked gamer award of all time. Yuka gets pretty jealous of his crazy luck. He reminds her she also got that giant troll club, but she clearly does not think that really offsets his win. As he browses through the rest of the loot, mostly materials, random armor pieces, and money, he casually wonders if he should equip some armor too. That little comment makes Yuka's jaw drop because she never thought she would live to see him even consider putting on clothes. She blurts out asking if he is some kind of hentai, spelling out the first 2 letters before the chat and viewers gleefully finish the word for her. The chat now treats him just like Frankie from One Piece, and he yells at everyone to stop saying it. He insists he is naked, strictly for maximum efficiency, not for enjoyment. His delivery is so defensive. It only makes him sound incredibly suspicious, and Yuka Puki just smirks like she knows the absolute truth. He puts on the armor, which is so oversized it looks like it was built for Whitebeard himself. Instead of coming off as intimidating, he ends up looking like a cheap Temu version of Iron Man left out in the pouring rain. The chat is already laughing at him, and someone asks him to show the mad scientist's bracelet skill. He decides to make this the main highlight of the video, calling it the epic skill reveal, since it is a once-a-day skill and he is logging off. Very soon he activates it without hesitation. The moment his physical enhancement kicks in, his armor completely blasts apart into pieces. That is when it hits Him that armor disabling literally means blowing it to absolute scrap, not just turning it off. They finally log out and celebrate clearing the dungeon. Their video is already going viral, flooding their social media feeds without them even searching for it. People are losing their minds over the clip of Tsukumaru clearing that dungeon. Stark naked, actually. Yuka notices another player attempting the exact same run, so they watch the stream together. Tsukumaru instantly gets annoyed when he sees them use the ceiling talisman, only to completely fail their follow-up attack. He tells Yuka to hand over her laptop so he can give them some expert tips. She shoots him a glare that could level cities, forcing him to immediately sit back down. Like a husband who knows better than to test his wife's temper, Tsukumaru realizes that if more streams pop up connected to their video, their content will keep snowballing in views, which is a massive win. Meanwhile, Yuka scrolls past a flood of memes and video edits mocking her latest drill stunt. He quickly pulls up an edit of his own armor, exploding into scrap metal. Arguing her embarrassment is nothing compared to his pain, telling her to pay the tax of internet fame like an adult. Then, with the smooth grace of a sleazy salesman, he points out he kept his promise of carrying her through the dungeon, and now their video is absolutely blowing up. Technically, this is where they are supposed to go their separate ways. Yuka looks like she wants to say something, but he bulldozes right past her and says he intends to end the partnership. Until he notices his inbox overflowing with collab offers. The catch, every single offer requires both of them as a package deal. If they split now, they can say goodbye to those amazing opportunities. He asks if she is cool with sticking together a bit longer, and she naturally agrees because who would turn down free clout? Then, in a weird move, he rejects every agency invite. She questions his sanity, and he explains that these companies spam offers to anyone who goes viral, but offer nothing of actual value. She gets slightly excited about the idea, but ultimately agrees with his reasoning. Even so, he notes it is smart to keep the better agencies as a solid backup plan. For now, he replies to everyone with a polite refusal, saying they want to focus on streaming until they establish a steady schedule and stronger content before they ever open the door to serious negotiations. Soon, Yuka comes running over with another offer, beaming as she tells him that Galia is signed with them, without a second thought. Tsukumaru shuts her down and completely tears the agency apart, listing a freestyle list of every single shady thing they pulled on him before. He even adds that signing with them means being locked down for 3 years without any freedom to join any other company. Yuka blinks, asking where he learned all this, and he casually claims he just read it online. She refuses to believe Galia's agency could be that corrupt. That is when he realizes this is exactly how she got tricked into a horrible contract in the past, blinded by flashy promises and ignoring the fine print. He warns her that if they rush into signing with an agency without thinking, they will lose total control over their own future collaborations. Instead, they must review every incoming offer before making any big choices. That sparks her curiosity, so she asks what kind of requests they actually have right. Now, grinning smugly, he pulls up his screen and reveals the massive news that there is an invite from her absolute favorite content creator, Ray. The instant she hears that name, Yuka basically turns into a pogo stick, bouncing with insane excitement like a little kid at an amusement park. Talk about a reaction. She is already completely ready to accept before he can even finish speaking, and Tsukumaru admits he also planned on accepting, especially since one of Ray's messages hinted she wanted to discuss that mysterious item, which conveniently did not show up on their stream. They head straight to the Raylan Guild in Trade City. Ermental. The moment they step inside, the entire place freezes and stares at them like they are Justin Bieber and Haley walking into a coffee shop. People are already whispering, wondering if they are here to join the guild. They make their way to the leader's room, and Yuka's jaw drops when she sees it looks exactly Like Ray's streaming setup, yep, her absolute idol is actually running the show. Her favorite player, Ray, Yuka, also notices the whole base has this massive, awe-inspiring vibe when summoning members and wonders if they could ever have a place like this. Tsukumaru quickly crushes her dream by explaining that sure you can buy guilds with real money, but prime real estate like this costs so much you might as well sell your soul for it. He says he is way too broke for that, comparing it to struggling to buy gun skins in Valorant. She simply nods, agreeing that life really is tough. Ray finally enters, greeting them warmly and thanking them for coming all this way. Tsukumaru politely waves it off, saying they are actually the ones who should be grateful. Meanwhile, Yuka cannot even look straight at her without turning into a completely malfunctioning fangirl. Tsukumaru nudges her to introduce herself, but instead of acting normal, she blurts out her actual name and goes off in a freestyle rap about how obsessed she is with Ray. I mean, talk about the absolute worst first impression she could possibly make. Ray laughs, shakes her hand, and thanks her for the support. Yuka then stares at her hand like it is some holy relic and vows never to wash it, completely forgetting that game avatars do not even wash their hands anyway. Ray turns to Tsukumaru, calling his name, and says she is really glad he came, too. Tsukumaru is pretty stunned she even remembers him, since in his own mind, he is just some background soldier standing next to Garp. Ray says it is only natural since she was the one who invited him, and she has a real knack for spotting newbies who will go far, maybe even surpass her one day. Tsukumaru jokes that he hopes her intuition is dead on this time. They shake hands to kick off their collab, and she promises him she will not be dead weight during the stream. Before they get too deep into the actual planning, he asks how many pieces of the map she has collected. She looks surprised that he does not even question whether she has them in the first place. Tsukumaru explains he already tried digging for info online, but found nothing useful, so he figured this item only drops for players who clear S-ranked dungeons. That means the only people who know about them are the ones who actually have them. Ray shows him a single piece of the map, proudly stating she has one. When he asks what these pieces are, she just says they are maps. He gives her a pretty sarcastic look because he already has two fully functional eyes and can tell that much himself. She goes on to explain that you only get limited info from the pieces themselves, and most guilds that have them are keeping the rest under wraps. That is why she wanted to talk to the two of them in the first place. Tsukumaru points out that they are just random players who she just happened to find the map without any secret cheat codes. Normally, finding high-ranked dungeons is almost impossible without a guild. That is when she drops the big offer for them to join up. Yuka is ready to scream yes before she even finishes speaking, but Tsukumaru quickly stops her before she signs her life away. Ray explains that they can only get so far on their own, but she can help them outside the game with streaming, editing, or even promoting their channel to a massive audience. Before Tsukumaru can even speak, the door flies open and some guy with fox ears and a major attitude walks in. He immediately barks that they do not need outsiders to help with the map research itself. Tsukumaru tilts his head and without missing a beat asks Ray if this is her famous streamer pet. That insult hits harder than a critical blow, and the guy immediately draws his blade like he is auditioning for a samurai drama. Tsukumaru, instead of panicking, just glides backward like he is doing a perfect moonwalk, easily dodging the strike while wondering why this random guy with main character syndrome is trying to murder him over a silly nickname. Ray and the angry streamer both freeze, shocked that he avoided it so easily. That only makes the guy angrier, and he goes full rage boss, swinging wildly at Tsukumaru while screaming that he is just a trash-talking rookie who only knows how to run. Meanwhile, Yuka is practically fangirling herself into a coma because this guy, Uma, happens to be one of her absolute favorite streamers. After dodging a few more times, Tsukumaru flips the script and puts his knife right at Uma's throat, ending the duel with a flawless finisher. Talk about a massive reality check. Uma looks ready to fight again, but Rei steps between them like a teacher stopping a schoolyard brawl. She introduces him as Kagami. Uma, one of the biggest powerhouses in the game and streaming world. Tsukumaru, still annoyed by the trash talk, says she clearly has not taught her pet any manners. Uma almost loses his mind again, but Rei shuts him down with a single glare that looks like it could delete his save file. She tells him to stop being rude to guests and explains that their map hunt stalled after finding the piece in the forest of mycelium and webs, which is why they need allies. Tsukumaru recognizes the name from his farming days and realizes they were the ones who uncovered that dungeon. That makes him wonder if other pieces of the map are hidden in the old zones he knows so well. Tsukumaru shifts his tone to pretend to sympathize, telling Uma that he understands the frustration of watching someone totally useless try to act tough. Uma narrows his eyes, wondering what he is getting at. Tsukumaru quickly makes it clear that he is not talking about himself. No, the useless one here is Uma, who has no clue where the map pieces are. If it were him, he would have found them in 3 days without breaking a sweat. Uma bursts out laughing like it is the funniest thing he has ever heard, then fires back with a challenge. They will raid the dungeon under one condition. If Tsukumaru wins, Uma will grovel in doja, but if Tsukumaru loses, he must grovel in front of his own live viewers. Cut to the nearby wilderness where Uma is already on his knees. Laughter erupts, proving once again that dogs bark for absolutely no reason. Tsukumaru secured this quest first, leaving Uma completely in the dust. The job itself is an A-rank request, titled "Please bring back my belongings," issued by the Merchants Guild after thieves ambushed their transport. Recovering the stolen goods pays well, but rescuing the stranded transport crew offers a massive bonus reward, a key to the Colosseum of the antagonistic fighters. Uma maintains a polite mask, but Tsukumaru keeps relentlessly mocking him. He keeps roasting him with sharp taunts. Inwardly, Tsukumaru knows he located this quest in just 2 days, all thanks to a quick tip from his past life. But he has not actually claimed the key yet. Once Uma finally figures that out, he realizes he bowed for absolutely nothing, and his hot-headed brain starts steaming. Tsukumaru just nods, muttering that the ending feels a bit too unsatisfying, so he is adding another condition. Now they must save all 5 merchants to clear this extra quest. It is no longer just about winning the race. It is about making Uma's defeat burn twice as hard. Meanwhile, Rei starts her stream for this massive quest challenge, quickly introducing the highly anticipated guests. First up is the assault captain of the Rayline Guild, Uma. Standing tall and confident, the chat, fully trusting his immense strength, comments that his opponent should just focus on putting up a decent fight instead of actually winning. Next, Rei introduces our guy as the genius behind the troll forest leveling strategy and the first to clear the Mansion of Serenity. She even jokes about waiting for the moment he strip midstream again, as if that is his signature brand, but the viewers have absolutely no idea who he is, begging him not to cause trouble. For Rei and Uma to cover the action, Rei hosts the stream with Yuka, who always struggles to support Tsukumaru without getting tongue-tied. When it is her turn to speak, she completely panics and literally bites her tongue, freezing up instantly. Rei gently tells her to relax and just enjoy the day. Yuka, being incredibly adorable, promises to try her hardest to relax, though she looks highly stressed doing it. Still, the viewers think her nervous energy is surprisingly cute and charming. Rei keeps things moving, explaining the exact rules and quest details. The main focus is the additional challenge, a rare test of who can actually rescue more captured non-player characters under pressure. Yuka raises her hand to ask if a rescue mission works differently. Then just clearing out enemies, Ray clarifies that the rules never actually require them to fight, meaning they could completely bypass combat to save time. Avoiding fights and focusing entirely on the objective is likely the smarter play. Yuka immediately points out that this gives Tsukumaru a massive, unfair advantage as a thief. Tsukumaru looks at her in utter disbelief, wondering whose side she is even on. She immediately replies, Uma-sama. Talk about zero loyalty, but he quickly spins this in his favor anyway. Favor offering Uma a 5-minute head start if things feel unfair. Uma, ears twitching, wonders if Tsukumaru is looking down on him or scheming something. Tsukumaru casually admits that he absolutely is. Tsukumaru is clearly plotting, and if Uma dislikes the head start, they can just jump in together instead. But Uma, face already flushing red, completely takes the bait and promises to not just win, but crush him so hard that even the respawn point will file a formal complaint. He warns Tsukumaru not to whine afterward. Tsukumaru simply shrugs it off, saying this was his own idea, so there is no way he would make excuses. The chat is not used to his cocky, arrogant attitude at all. They start getting real annoyed with him for talking down to a top-tier streamer. Yuka chimes in again, warning everyone that Tsukumaru might be planning something dirty. She is clearly siding with her crush over her actual teammate here. Talk about betrayal. Meanwhile, Uma claims that no cheap tricks can touch him. And with that, the host Ray officially kicks off the big event. Uma makes his move first, slipping into the enemy base like a professional assassin. Moving in absolute silence, he quickly spots a merchant bound tightly with ropes. But here is the catch. The captured merchant is completely surrounded by hostile bandits. Uma will have to fight his way through. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru watches his opponent screen, practically grading him like a teacher. The real test is his attack order. That split-second choice will show exactly how skilled this celebrity streamer really is. Uma inhales deeply, then lunges forward, slicing through the guards, instantly dropping one specific enemy. Yuka watches in confusion, wondering why he bypassed the heavily armed targets. Host Ray explains that the target is actually a relay soldier, the one who sounds the alarm for the entire dungeon. Silencing him first means Uma can easily keep his stealth approach active. This keeps the rest of the massive fortress from dogpiling right on top of him. The remaining guards spot him anyway and rush forward, but he is a pro. He clears them out with flashy moves, easily rescuing the first captive merchant. He drops a smug remark to mock Tsukumaru, sending a clear message. Ray watches the live chat completely explode as Tsukumaru steps up for his turn. While Tsukumaru, acting like a reckless anime protagonist, completely ignores stealth, charging into the bandit lair like a guy who totally skipped the tutorial. The guards spot him immediately, and the relay soldier happily blows his trumpet. With the alarm blaring, Tsukumaru gets backed into a corner and triggers enhancement. Power surges through him, ripping his clothes and blasting enemies backward. Without pausing for even a second, he turns and sprints down a side path. The audience is confused because there are barely any guards left around him. They wonder what kind of cheat he is using. Yuka spots a comment, accusing him of playing dirty, and asks the host if he broke a rule. Ray explains that once the alarm sounds, the enemies aggro onto the nearest player. And since the bulk of the bandits are still deep inside the dungeon, they naturally lock onto poor Uma instead, in just a matter of moments. He gets swarmed by a literal wave of hostile, non-playable characters. He is desperately swinging his sword, completely burning through his stamina pool. The viewers quickly put the pieces together. Talk about an absolute galaxy brain play. That is why he wanted a 5-minute delay. The comments absolutely erupt. They call him cheap and dirty, but he just smiles and shrugs. He calls it maximum efficiency, just a smarter way to clear the game. What a cheap way to clear the quest. Instantly, the chat starts ripping him apart for having such a trashy attitude and playing so dirty. Meanwhile, Uma is busy struggling against Endless waves of enemies. Tsukumaru just strolls from room to room, saving merchants like some kind of volunteer. In the end, his cheap little scheme actually works out, securing an easy victory without even sweating. The viewers are absolutely losing their minds. Are they even watching the same game? Uma is fuming so hard, you can practically see the steam blowing out of his ears, but Tsukumaru stays completely chill. He reminds the chat that he warned them about his scheme from the start, yet Uma walked right into the trap, chess versus checkers. Yuka steps in quickly. Everyone down, apologizing on his behalf and promising he is not completely awful. His actual moral settings are permanently broken. Tsukumaru makes it to the main gate and figures the loot must be inside. Since his victory is already guaranteed, he decides to wrap this run up fast. If the devs try to deny his win over some unfinished quest detail, he is ready to give them a real reason to regret it, but of course, things never go that easily. A bruised and battered Uma stumbles into view, still crying about the loss. Tsukumaru just smirks, mockingly telling him how sad it is that he cannot just take the loss quietly like a man. He keeps throwing petty insults at him. While busy trying to unlock the giant gate, suddenly, a blinding flash of light rips right toward them like a laser beam. Tsukumaru just tilts his head, just enough to dodge, while Uma swings his weapon to deflect the blast. Out from the darkness steps a guy covered head to toe in bandages, moving with an incredibly menacing vibe, pure coldness and zero warmth. Tsukumaru reads his stats instantly. This has to be the dungeon boss. With the stolen treasure locked behind him, an elite guard makes perfect sense. Their petty bickering will have to wait. First, they need to survive this. In gaming, players usually fall into two main categories of playstyles. First, you have those who always pick the safest path in every situation. Then you have the high-risk, high-reward players who maximize their gains. Like any other top-tier player who thinks he is totally invincible, Uma naturally puts himself in the elite category, strong and highly skilled. He prides himself on playing safe, pointing to his perfect win streak, to his flawless track record. In his mind, he has never lost a single match. Putting his slightly delusional pride aside, let us get back to the battle. With the scary boss standing right in front of them, Tsukumaru realizes they need to focus on defeating this monster first instead of arguing. Uma just snaps at him, completely agitated. He points out that this boss is on a whole different level, and that initial attack proved it. This is a level 40 fallen warrior who turned into a ruthless bandit after losing his honor and pride, and now he only fights with his deadly bow. Even the chat agrees that this boss is way too overpowered for them. Uma nervously asks Tsukumaru what a real gamer would do in this situation. Tsukumaru just bluntly answers, "We cannot beat him anyway," which, honestly, is exactly what the game developers wanted the players to realize. He absolutely hates that option, so he is dead set on taking this thing down. But Uma has his own genius strategy. He says the real answer is to clear the room without fighting the boss at all. Tsukumaru definitely did not expect such an incredibly dull answer. Tsukumaru, channeling the determination of Naruto in Sage Mode, declares that if Uma is too scared to fight, he should hide in a corner and watch how it is done. Watch him prove him wrong. With that, Tsukumaru leaps straight into the hall, leaving Uma standing there frozen. His brain is basically buffering like a lagging game. He cannot comprehend how a heavy tank character like himself, with a huge health pool, got almost wiped out in one hit, while Tsukumaru is still running around half-naked with absolutely zero defense and surviving. Inside the arena, the giant boss lets loose an arrow, but Tsukumaru easily slips past it with pure agility. Diving behind a wooden crate, the boss instantly fires a devastating follow-up shot that completely vaporizes his cover. Everyone in the chat thinks he is dead, but to their absolute surprise, he dodged that attack too, leaving both the viewers and Uma wondering if he is secretly using hacks. Honestly, you cannot blame them. The chat reaches a boiling point as he cleanly evades every single attack. With total ease, seeing him only defend without ever striking back, Ray chimes in. She speaks with the arrogant tone of a genius who figured everything out. She notes he is too busy trying to survive to actually attack. With only a short dagger, his range is simply too small to hit him. Suddenly, her words completely kill the hype in the stream. Everyone starts thinking this raid is impossible and that Uma had the right idea. Uma agrees. If Tsukumaru runs out of mana points, he cannot cast his special quick-step skill anymore. That means it is instant game over. Sensing the doubt, Tsukumaru reads a mocking comment from the chat. He sighs, telling them that while it might take a bit, winning is easy. The troll immediately responds, demanding to know exactly how long. This really gets under his skin. Gritting his teeth, he snaps back that he only needs one clean strike, provided he gets behind him without moving. It sounds completely impossible. Still, Tsukumaru looks at his current position and realizes Ray was right, while he has 2 hours to chip away. At the boss, this is a collab stream. The audience is not going to wait forever, yet, through all the spam and negativity, a few true fans keep cheering him on, witnessing that rare support. Uma is genuinely shocked. During his own streams, his viewers usually expect him to fail or give up early. He tightens his grip, remembering Tsukumaru's words. Seeing his partner fighting out there alone, a fire ignites inside him. He rushes into battle, screaming that he is not leaving his teammate behind. He triggers his piercing aura skill to draw all the aggro, posing like he is some epic legendary savior, despite doing absolutely nothing useful. The giant beast fires a massive shot at him, but Uma pulls off a perfect parry skill, earning some solid hype from the chat. Tsukumaru just laughs, teasing him for suddenly acting tough, while Uma snaps back, admits that his body just moved on its own. That gets a big grin from Tsukumaru, who probably thinks Uma's reflexes have serious commitment issues. Uma takes a slow, deep breath. He tells Tsukumaru it's been a long time since he fought like this. Then he asks, does Tsukumaru really think they can pull off that crazy plan? Tsukumaru stands right beside him and proudly pats his shoulder. He's totally confident. Honestly, standing together like this, they look like a pretty legendary duo. Just like Naruto and Sasuke, though in this case, a classic younger Sasuke. Tsukumaru stretches, looking straight at us. The long wait is finally over. It is their chance now, he announces, but that serious mood, gone. He instantly ruins the moment, telling Uma to go bait another 5 shots. This absolutely irritates Uma, so Tsukumaru immediately starts teasing his partner. If it is too hard, he jokes, then maybe it's not their chance. Uma snaps right back. He can easily take another 10 or 20 shots if needed. After their usual bickering, Uma steps ahead, using his technique to shield him. He tells Tsukumaru to move. Now, he's about to do something crazy. Before leaving, Tsukumaru dramatically promises not to let Uma's heroic sacrifice be in vain. He's acting like Uma just threw himself in front of a speeding train. Ah, the tragic sacrifice. Uma can only scream in absolute frustration behind him. Tsukumaru slips behind some boxes. The boss immediately tracks him, but Uma interferes. Radiating a fierce, piercing aura, Uma declares that he is the real opponent. The fight explodes. The boss fires a lethal arrow, but Uma cleanly dodges. He moves to counter, but a sudden arrow strikes him down. Shocking. The crowd gasps. Uma realizes too late that he completely messed up his timing. Just as the boss readies his absolute final shot, Tsukumaru makes his entrance. He is literally swinging from a chandelier, drawing the boss's aim instantly. The boss fires. Tsukumaru leaps down from the ceiling light, dodging midair. He lands a heavy punch straight to the boss's head. Is it over? No, the boss is still standing, but Tsukumaru just smiles. His real target was never the boss, it was the chandelier above him. The boss's own arrow shatters the support, sending it crashing down. Massive damage. Without missing a beat, Tsukumaru scrambles away, running back toward Uma. The viewers are completely amazed by this stunt. Uma, however, just screams. He demands to know why he didn't warn him about this reckless plan. Catching his breath, Tsukumaru just clicks his tongue in mock disappointment. He mutters that Uma actually survived. Irritated, Uma says he should be relieved. But Tsukumaru completely ignores him. There was simply no time to explain. The positioning had to be perfect, and he didn't want to break Uma's focus. Sure, nobody is buying that. Yuka and Rei immediately call him out. They know he's lying. Smiling, Tsukumaru reaches out his hand to Uma. He reminds him of how he insisted this boss was completely unbeatable. His tone is incredibly smug. He completely proved his point here. Surprisingly, Uma doesn't snap back. Instead, he quietly admits he was wrong. He actually shakes hands with Tsukumaru, calmly acknowledging his own defeat. Tsukumaru casually shrugs. Admit it or not, a win is a win. He's the one who took the boss down, but this piece, it's short-lived. It takes barely 2 seconds before Uma screams that Tsukumaru is proud of his cowardly victory. Tsukumaru calmly fires back that he did not actually break any rules. His reply is the exact kind of annoying answer that makes people roll their eyes. Still, he is technically correct. Rei even points out how surprisingly well the two get along. Yuka agrees, noting it is rare to see Uma react so intensely to his teasing. He snaps instantly, reacting to absolutely every single annoying jab. Everyone thinks they are a perfect match, though perfect here just means pure entertainment. Their hard-earned reward for clearing the dungeon is a key to an S-ranked zone. Soon after, the entire party regroups out in the open wilderness. The duo immediately begins planning their upcoming S-ranked raid. While Tsukumaru stands around waiting, a strange direct message suddenly pops up on his screen. Some anonymous account is offering to make him a famous influencer. Reading those words, his entire vibe shifts and his eyes narrow in suspicion. He turns and asks Rei if he can hold onto the raid key until their next broadcast. When she asks why, he simply claims he has an old score to settle. His quiet aura suddenly becomes incredibly sharp and heavy. This is definitely not about some silly game rivalry, but a dead serious personal grudge. Later, Tsukumaru browses online, seeing himself trending alongside Uma. Seeing all the massive attention makes him realize that Uma is actually a huge deal. It is actually pretty annoying. He has to hear about it constantly. While he is distracted, a rather unpleasant group of 3 approaches, led by a blue-haired guy. The colorful leader steps right in front of the others with a wide smirk. He falsely praises Tsukumaru for gaining 100,000 followers in 1 month. But that fake smile of his carries a slimy warmth that screams trouble is coming. Tsukumaru honestly figured this loser would show up with a whole army of goons. But with only 2 extra goons standing behind him, there is zero reason to feel nervous. The guy goes by the username Guest, which is about as unoriginal as it gets. To make things worse, his high-tier gear is completely mismatched. That entire outfit is flashy but useless, proving he is still the same unimpressive president. Horrible flashbacks of his former company president flood back, instantly spoiling his mood. The sight of him makes his blood boil. Still, he coldly returns the greeting and asks who the tagalongs are. Guest proudly explains that these 2 silent guys beside him are actual representatives from his agency. He claims having them around makes finalized negotiations a lot easier for everyone. Tsukumaru nods along, even though their glares tell a very different story. Their sour and bitter expressions make it incredibly obvious they are not here to make friends. Guest admits he was quite surprised when Tsukumaru requested an in-game meeting. Coldly, Tsukumaru fake apologizes, explaining that if he had a real base, they would meet there. The president waves it off, insisting there is absolutely no need to apologize. Meeting inside the virtual world guarantees they will not have any outside distractions. He suggests they can easily review the contract through their web browser right now. Since guest wanted in-game items, this method is way more efficient. Guest nod in agreement, immediately asking if he actually brought the goods. He proudly displays the rare key and map, confirming he has brought the goods. But then his face darkens as he demands to know their real goal. The contract clearly says slave right next to those items, realizing their dirty scheme is totally exposed. Guest panics. He tries to claim Tsukumaru is just misunderstanding him. Enraged, Tsukumaru pulls up the contract to prove it. He points out the ugly details. The stream must follow agency directions. 90% of all earnings go directly to them, absolutely zero rights. He demands guest explain this garbage deal while glaring with pure hate. You disgust me, he spits. Guest assumed most gamers never read contracts. Too bad for him, Tsukumaru is not your average gamer. He is built different. He refuses to make the same mistake twice. He sticks out his tongue. Anyone with half a brain rejects this. Deep down, bitter memories of his past begin to resurface. Back then, desperation made him believe a scam like this was salvation. Guest hesitates. Why meet if you are not going to sign? Before Tsukumaru can answer, the quiet room suddenly erupts into total violence. Guest orders his thugs to attack. Tsukumaru barely ducks the first strike. Countering with his dagger, he instantly slices one open. Clean hit. With that done, he turns to Guest with a cold grin. He reveals the real reason he even showed up. He literally just wanted to farm these scammers for stream content. Right on cue, the stream goes live. The chat absolutely explodes. Comments fly in, mocking the bad guys and cheering the fight. This was definitely not in Guest's plan. His face goes completely pale. The chat mocks him mercilessly, making Tsukumaru smirk even harder. Furious, Guest screams at his men to kill him. They step forward. Chat laughs. It is pathetic fighting over a simple key. Tsukumaru honestly agrees. The whole situation is just silly. Sure, they want the map too, but these are just pixel items. Why make such a massive scene? He expected them to panic. He thought they would run and cover their tracks after being exposed. Instead, they double down. Could his map be way more valuable? Is this thing actually worth dying for? Honestly, he does not care. Their raw aggression actually fits his broadcast schedule perfectly. Tsukumaru bolts, leading those two ugly thugs on a wild chase. He is steering this fight exactly where he wants, sprinting ahead. He slips inside the eerie ruins of the Western Church. And trust me, that door is straight out of a nightmare, covered in eyes. As he crosses, a strange voice counts out 1, nobody knows why. Tsukumaru keeps his stream open, watching the idiots search for him. The thugs call out to Guest, saying their target ran inside. They march right into the church, laughing at his pathetic escape. The creepy door counts them as they pass. It is tracking everyone. Guest yells, offering 1 million if they kill him and take it. The two hired thugs exchange a greedy smirk, loving the offer. Guest keeps bragging about how Tsukumaru is trapped like a rat. All they need is to take his items. Walking deeper, a cold voice echoes. A cold voice echoes through the church. Tsukumaru. He mocks their foolishness. The trio halts, spinning around only to find him standing right behind them. Brandishing a creepy eyeball dagger, instant strike. One man instantly crashes before Tsukumaru steps forward, oozing absolute confidence. His voice is incredibly sharp and icy cold as he gives them one final, terrifying warning. You should be running now. Suddenly, the chapter shifts to his point of view. Tsukumaru makes his way toward the church, knowing it is the main pivot. This desolate spot is exactly the remote location he chose for his battle against Guest. Inside, a trial alert pops up, drawing mockery. He notices the arrogant, ugly trio followed him inside. No worries. But this doesn't worry him. He feels pretty excited. The real show is finally starting. he slips into the chamber where a strange weapon sits. The dark blade rests on a table, its creepy eye remaining shut for now. When his hand wraps around the handle, the creepy eye snaps open, completely shocking his viewers. He sighs at the chat, pointing out the obvious. Survival literally requires holding this exact blade. The quest info said so. The chat immediately floods with incredible confidence, claiming this fight will be an absolute breeze. Taking down these clowns should be easy. After all, he already crushed Uma. He agrees, but then a viewer suggests making some sub-characters to challenge the quest. Someone says he should cheese the quest using secondary avatars. But Tsukumaru refuses. Doing that would play right into the developer's greedy, twisted trap. Everyone is surprised he is actually talking to them directly. As he reads the comments, heavy footsteps echo right outside. Hearing the noisy, arrogant trio talking outside, he grips his new dagger and charges right out. One clean strike, unstoppable, the blade cut right through them. The chat goes absolutely wild, but then they notice his health points. His health points suddenly drop, leaving the viewers to believe the big guy landed a hit. But Tsukumaru quickly corrects them, that is not what happened. The health drain is actually caused by the weapon itself, despite boasting twice the usual attack power. It outperforms an S-rank blade, but carries a devastating, brutal drawback. Known as the Soul Reaping Blade, this weapon is easily one of the absolute strongest daggers around. Still, the ugly trio refuses to run, eager to crush him. They assume that if they can just land one solid blow, they win. Just one clean strike is all they need, or so they think. Grinning proudly, the three of them charge ahead. They throw absolutely everything they have directly at Tsukumaru, but our male lead just smirks. Effortlessly dancing around their sloppy strikes, he laughs at their pathetic confidence. He tells them they have grossly misunderstood a couple of things. First, not a single one of their desperate, uncoordinated attacks will ever touch his body. Slipping behind the fatty in a single flash, he swings his dark, soul-reaping blade. But the fatty unexpectedly catches the blade barehanded, using a high-level skill. Tsukumaru did not expect that, but he stays perfectly cool anyway. He laughs, mocking him for thinking he could survive after witnessing his partner's bloody, brutal fate. Then comes their second big mistake, thinking Tsukumaru cannot kill. In reality, he can completely end them all right here. With a single swift strike, he cuts down the big guy, dropping his own health even lower. This leaves the viewers completely baffled, wondering how on earth he is still standing. Tsukumaru explains that his weapon and skills stack, making him stronger at low health. It is all thanks to a passive skill called Will of Dying, and he reassures the chat. Even if he is left with just one health point, he can easily dodge every attack. Talk about living on the edge. Meanwhile, Guest starts throwing another tantrum. He barks orders at his teammate to kill Tsukumaru, treating him like a literal slave. The teammate hesitates, so Guest screams that he won't get paid a single cent. But this time, the guy is not going to take this abuse quietly. He snaps back, asking if Guest seriously expects him to risk losing his character data for free. Guest just shrugs it off with his usual trashy attitude. He says he does not care, and if anything gets deleted, it is his own fault. That is the final straw, and the teammate completely loses his mind. He worked too hard to level up and refuses to take orders anymore. Standing nearby, Tsukumaru just sighs, getting incredibly bored of their petty drama. He tells them to just use the exit if they do not want to fight. The chat gets confused, wondering why there is an exit in this zone. Some recall the quest description saying that leaving will completely cancel the mission. Hearing that, the wounded teammate immediately bolts straight toward the exit. Guest is left frozen in shock, screaming at him to get back here. A viewer asks Tsukumaru what happens to the knife if the quest gets cancelled. He explains that he will lose it, since the entire quest gets wiped out. The chat asks if he is cool with that, guessing he has a backup plan. Tsukumaru sighs, asking why they always paint him as the bad guy. But right on cue, a highly suspicious grin spreads all across his face. He says their bickering is getting boring, so he will show them how cruel this quest is. Meanwhile, Guest is frantically chasing after his fleeing teammate. He screams that this is a major breach of contract and he can't leave. But the wounded guy is completely done with this toxic team. He snaps back that he is quitting the agency and refuses to do this. He stops to catch his breath right in front of the exit gate. Guest catches up and flashes a smug smirk, giving him one final threat. Breaking this contract unilaterally means he will face a massive fine. We are talking over 10 million yen, and Guest expects him to fold immediately. But his smug confidence completely shatters just a second later. The angry teammate turns around and raises his sword, ready to slice him. But before the blade can drop, a terrifying monster suddenly spawns. Out comes a massive spider known as the Executioner of the Shadows. Talk about a total nightmare, it instantly decapitates the teammate. It ends him in a horrific flash, leaving behind a literal pool of blood. Watching him get deleted so easily, Guest just scoffed. He mutters that the guy was all talk, but his voice quickly dies out. He sees the giant spider turning its gaze right toward him. Pure panic sets in as he flees, screaming and begging for his life. He keeps rambling about needing to recover the key and map from the trash. He means Tsukumaru. Running desperately, Guest squeezes through a row of metal bars. They are just wide enough for him, but too narrow for the spider. He trips, he faceplants hard. Looking up, he finds Tsukumaru sitting nearby. Tsukumaru mocks him. Did he call him trash? He heard his cowardly cries. He referred to him that way, yet Tsukumaru ignores the giant monster. The spider does not scare him. Calm, unbothered, he plans to watch. He wants to watch Guest die, but then Guest mentions his bosses. Now he is curious. Guest spots Tsukumaru and gets an idea. It is a terrible plan. Guest scrambles up, immediately trying to flatter him. He claims it was a misunderstanding. They should give each other another chance. The desperation is pathetic. Frankly, none of the viewers care about him. Everyone knows he is a coward, but the clever Tsukumaru has plans. He wants details on those bosses, time to calculate his move. He offers to hear his story. This completely shocks the entire audience. He never listens to anyone. Seeing this rare chance, Guest smiles. He points directly at the spider. It is still struggling outside. It cannot pass the bars. Guest suggests they team up right now. An alliance? No way. Tsukumaru has absolutely no need for his help. He can easily crush them both. Guest panic modes and keeps bargaining. He offers 3 million yen. Tsukumaru simply does not trust empty promises. Desperate to save his skin, Guest quickly agrees to write a contract. He hands over the signed and sealed paper. This pleases Tsukumaru. To our main character, money and deals matter more than killing spiders. Smirking, he notes that Guest seems completely terrified of his bosses. Did he contact him on their orders? He asks with a grin. It must be exhausting to work for bosses who would let you die. Guest freezes up. Tsukumaru realizes he will not talk that easily. He needs him to spill the tea. How can he make him talk? His lips are sealed tighter than this paper. He thinks for a moment. If Guest will not share information, then there is no deal. There is no reason to protect him. He might as well let him die. He confirms that the exact contract term is only to kill the beast. Guest nods in relief, but that relief vanishes in a split second. Tsukumaru calmly tells him to run. He will handle the monster. He lazily adds that the contract does not contain a safety clause. Guest's jaw drops. Honestly, the viewers are absolutely loving this cold move. He opens his mouth, desperately wanting to renegotiate and add protection. But he never gets the chance. The spider suddenly strikes. A sharp leg impales his stomach, killing him. Tsukumaru just smiles. He watches Guest collapse against him, blood soaking through his clothes. He catches him and whispers to rest easy, he will kill it. Just like requested, but the viewers are left completely confused. Everyone else is dead, why is the quest still not done? Tsukumaru shrugs and explains simply, the beast is still breathing. He smirks, do not expect him to babysit a useless team. Tutorial, he explains to his chat that this spider's stats are on a completely different tier, requiring an attacker with crazy high damage output and a healer who can cure both paralysis and poison just to stand a chance at winning. The viewers already see this quest as a total nightmare. But they are not surprised Tsukumaru is tackling it completely alone, especially since he is wielding a cursed knife nobody else would dare touch. He mocks the community, saying the main reason people avoid this weapon is not the high difficulty, but because it basically tells everyone you betrayed your own friends, a truth most players are too soft to admit. Tsukumaru remembers that after a massive wave of backlash, this quest got patched to be more family-friendly in the following update, with the reward weapon replaced by a super rare item that became completely unobtainable later. Then, wearing a massive devilish grin, he suddenly speaks directly to the chat, revealing that while the soul-reaping blade is insanely broken, the soul way too. Get it is by sacrificing your own teammates. He chuckles softly, adding that for him, party members are just walking bags of extra loot, so that negative is completely meaningless to him. The chat completely understands, since he is already infamous for being ruthless and a terrible reputation is the last thing he cares about. With that, our guy takes a highly confident step forward, ready to fight the beast. All on his own, basically daring the monster to be worth his time. The boss fires a sticky web, which he dodges so easily that he mocks its sluggish speed, joking that even Grandma's internet loads faster than this. He tells everyone he is just going to play around. The chat starts spamming that this boss is nothing, but Tsukumaru claims that fighting spiders is harder. Of course, the timing here is absolutely hilarious because he says this while yawning and casually dodging deadly strikes like a bored student in class. The chat immediately calls him out, and honestly, can we blame them? So Tsukumaru decides to show them. He rushes forward with his knife, swings with all his power and completely misses. Undeterred, he explains that this is the big downside to his weapon, zero range. Talk about embarrassing. While he is making excuses, the spider launches a massive wave of webs. Tsukumaru barely avoids getting trapped, backflipping away while explaining that boss monsters always suffer an animation lock after their ultimate moves, leaving them wide open. He activates a physical buff, blitzing forward so fast his clothes literally rip. The chat is completely unfazed by this development because at this point, Tsukumaru fighting half-naked is basically a running gag, just like how Goku always loses his shirt in Dragon Ball. He charges for the kill, but steps right on a sticky thread, letting the spider creep up behind. He calmly announces he is dead now. This absolutely shocks his chat since he never admits defeat, but then he smirks, roasting them because he actually got stuck on purpose, calling them mindless NPCs for thinking he would die like that. He grabs the spider's sharp legs before they sting him, explaining like a tutorial YouTuber that the boss relies on its defense, speed, and toxic venom, but always moves in close when prey gets trapped. He uses that exact moment to his ultimate attack slices the spider cleanly in half. If this were real life, the chat would spam GG easy as the spider uninstalls, standing proudly. Tsukumaru titles this episode about that famous agency sending him a scam contract, explaining how he decided to seek out the truth. He then asks his viewers if they liked his clickbait streamer act. His viewers are so hyped, they totally forget the fight only started because of some trashy people lurking in the background. Suddenly, Tsukumaru switches up, his tone sounding like a wise grandpa, warning everyone to avoid scam agencies like the one that tried to trick him. Finally, he invites them to his next Stream demanding subscribes with the raw confidence of a beginner creator chasing 1 million subs. 1 million subs, he wishes. Tsukumaru is just relieved he finally defeated the boss president while securing the strongest weapon for his class, just as he is celebrating. A new system notification alerts him to the best possible reward, which he had completely forgotten because he was too busy fanboying over his new soul reaping knife. His actual quest reward turns out to be a single map piece, which makes Tsukumaru curious since he assumed they already had the entire thing because they knew about it, but he definitely did not expect to acquire it like this. While he is still overthinking, another notification pops up showing he now holds 2 map pieces, which activates a new effect. He suddenly realizes something, and his face twists into a grimace like he just opened a group chat full of unpaid bills. Fortunately, his collab with Rayline sent their subscriber count skyrocketing. Thanks to those massive views, they ended up bagging a huge profit. That cash let them purchase a guild house. It was tiny compared to other guilds, but Tsukumaru still loved it like his very first Minecraft dirt hut. When he returns home and opens the front gate, a furious Yuka ambushes him out of nowhere. Tsukumaru explains he had some trouble with the president and thought of messing with him a little, but Yuka screams that he absolutely should have clued her in. They bicker like a married couple arguing over the Wi-Fi password. Tsukumaru soothes her by promising to keep her updated next time, and Yuka finally relaxes completely. He asks if she thought the stream was refreshing, and Yuka immediately starts gushing like an absolute fangirl, reviewing her favorite drama, making Tsukumaru realize he accidentally triggered a weird obsession. He quickly interrupts her, saying he has something incredible to show her, revealing the full list of all the map piece owners. Shocked, Yuka nervously asks if he hacked the game system, because how else would he know? Yuka gets disappointed after imagining him as some sort of shady hacker gremlin, but Tsukumaru explains he received a map piece as a quest reward, granting him access to the actual list. He admits he cannot recognize any of the user names, so he asks Yuka if she knows any of the streamers. Yuka looks over the list and becomes completely stunned, unable to believe he does not recognize a single name. He casually mentions he knows Ray, the player holding 1 map piece. Yuka is surprised and asks if he also knows Mafu, but our clueless main character has absolutely no idea. He only knows a plush toy with that name, making Yuka facepalm hard enough to register an earthquake. She explains that Mafu is actually an incredibly skilled, god-tier gamer. Mascot VTuber, but Tsukumaru only processes the words skilled player. Ignoring his absolute cluelessness, Yuka tells him that everyone listed is incredibly famous. Hinachin, Ralenchin, Reichin, these are all names Tsukumaru barely even recognizes. Yuka is dropping the lore like a hardcore fan, giving a presentation on her favorite group. After hearing about the others, Tsukumaru asks her about a specific player named Alan Newman, who currently holds 3 pieces of the map. Yuka pauses for a second, admitting she barely knows anything since his name does not even show up in search results. That is definitely pretty sketchy. Hearing this, Tsukumaru figures that even if Alan keeps a low profile, conquering 3 S-rank dungeons is a massive feat that should have earned him serious clout. What a waste. He slumps in his chair like a gamer who just threw a ranked match in Valorant. Picture that sad Keanu meme. He then asks Yuka how they can contact them. Yuka thinks they can try reaching out to Ray, though it might be impossible if they are signed with an agency. Hearing this, Tsukumaru wonders if he should join the Rayline agency, even if it is just a tiny streamer clubhouse compared to the industry giants. Suddenly, Yuka gets a brilliant idea and tells Tsukumaru that since everything is happening at the Meta Fest, they can ask Ray to promote them during the stream. But Tsukumaru, the undisputed king of being clueless, has absolutely no idea what the Meta Fest even is. Yuka looks at him like he just asked what Wi-Fi is, scolding him before explaining that it is a massive streamer event where everyone on the list participates. Tsukumaru finally understands, asking if joining this competition might actually help them build those connections. Hearing this, a disappointed Yuka has to tell him that the selection process is already over. Their clout is just not high enough to even get close. Tsukumaru gazes out the window, looking incredibly dramatic, and asks for a backup plan. Yuka quickly reminds him that this is not some cheap local food festival. Just then, Tsukumaru gets a news notification showing that Dream Discover is getting completely flooded with complaints. An unimpressed Yuka asks why they are the target. Tsukumaru calmly explains that their president is just a walking trouble magnet, saying it with a straight face, even though he literally folded that guy like laundry. Yuka sighs, muttering that she hopes the legendary Galea-sama might show up at the Meta Fest. Hearing the name, Tsukumaru asks about him, because his name is on the list too. Before Yuka can answer, the door swings wide open. They both turn to look, and it is Galea-sama himself. Yuka instantly turns into a massive fangirl seeing her idol, but Galea points right at Tsukumaru, yelling like an angry ex crashing a wedding. Seeing one of the target list members standing right there in front of him gives Tsukumaru an idea. His eyes sparkle like stars while Yuka pulls a face because she knows another round of chaos is coming. Now MetaFest is the very first massive, inclusive event built entirely around the meta sense, featuring tons of limited items and unique avatars. It acts as a trading hub and party finder for special event quests. The biggest draw is the main stage live stream, which showcases top-tier streamers and hosts talk shows for casual viewers. But the absolute highlight is the high-stakes tournament among the top players, featuring both preliminary qualifiers and the grand finals. For the preliminary round, 5 teams are divided into 3 blocks, with 2 teams from each block moving on to the finals. This is the main event of MetaFest. Meanwhile, back in the waiting room, Uma asks Rei if that trashed Tsukumaru has gotten in touch. She shakes her head and shows him the last message, which was basically him telling her not to worry because he has a secret strategy. Uma facepalms so hard. You would think he is trying to self-destruct, muttering about what Tsukumaru is actually cooking. Just then, Mafu appears like the ultimate cool senior and calls them over. Rei greets him casually, but Uma shows absolute, full-on respect. It is like he is meeting royalty. Mafu tells Uma to drop the act, but Uma simply cannot chill. The man is completely stuck in non-player character night mode. Mafu mentions he really enjoyed Uma's latest collaboration video, which leaves Uma totally confused. Rei chimed in, reminding Uma how much he was sulking when things went wrong. Mafu just laughs and figures Uma was probably drowning in pure gamer rage. He notes how tough it is to balance breaking character versus staying in character. Uma takes that straight to heart because it came directly from his respected senior. He looks exactly like a student who just got roasted politely. Switching topics, Mafu notes that Tsukumaru is on a completely different team this time around. Uma grits his teeth and confirms that Tsukumaru is indeed here. Mafu glances over at the screen and casually asks if that guy is him. Both Uma and Rei turn around, and sure enough, there is Tsukumaru standing with Yuka and Galea like he just unlocked some special non-player character friendship pack. Uma's anger instantly hits maximum, his brain boiling over with absolute fury. Fumes practically blow out of his ears. How did these 3 even end up together? Let's take a quick trip back to see how this started. Galea bursts straight into Tsukumaru and Yuka's place like she owns it. She storms forward, screaming that it is his fault and she will never forgive him. Right before she reaches him, Tsukumaru casually steps aside, and Galea face plants hard on the floor like a failed QuickTime event. Looking up, she sees Tsukumaru standing over her with a major wannabe villain vibe, telling her she arrived at the perfect moment. But before he can even flex, Galea's ultimate fan leaps out of nowhere, to tackle him in the name of justice. Tsukumaru barely dodges, completely confused why he is suddenly the ultimate final boss. The fangirl jumps in front of Galia with maximum dramatic flair, proudly declaring herself her loyal ally, and Galia actually seems to recognize her, which only makes Tsukumaru look even more like the designated villain of the story. Tsukumaru throws his hands up, asking why they are treating him like a villain. He asks Galia how she can complain when her contract prevents her from doing anything. Galia freezes in absolute panic and demands to know what he means. That is when Tsukumaru whips out his official contract, stamped by his president, waving it around like some legendary loot drop. He arrogantly declares that he legally owns the absolute high ground and could easily drag her to court if he wanted. Galia gets the point, but still hesitates, wondering if she can actually trust this guy. But Tsukumaru is not here to play hero, demanding something massive in return. His cold tone gives Galia goosebumps, proving some crazy scheme is already in motion. His head is bound to be just as cursed as the last, back in the present. Tsukumaru, Yuka, and Galia stand together in the block waiting room. Just then, Galia notices the ridiculous name of their group, leaving her completely embarrassed by Tsukumaru's crew. But Tsukumaru, looking way too pleased with himself, steps up to present his nonsense theory that the best way to stand out is by choosing a deliberately lame name. Then, flexing his authority as the owner, he claims full rights to decide. Galia feels even more embarrassed, realizing she is now branded with a name you would make up at 3 in the morning on zero sleep. Scanning the room, Tsukumaru notices that there are absolutely no map holders provided, which means they will be stuck waiting until the finals before anyone can get comfortable. An ugly, arrogant old man swaggers in, loudly complaining that the whole place stinks. The energy in the room instantly shifts to who invited this clown. Tsukumaru, completely unimpressed, asks Yuka who the clown is. With a sour look, Yuka explains that he is a game streamer named Jessitan, though calling him a clout-chasing streamer would be much more accurate. Her face twists with disgust as she explains that his whole brand is whining about games and stirring up drama just to stay relevant. She then adds, almost offended on principle, that he never even interacts with her bias, making it clear that in her eyes he is the worst kind of content creator. Meanwhile, the old man keeps rambling, calling everyone in the room lowly. That is when Galia finally steps up behind him and firmly tells him to lower his voice. He turns around sneering, mocking her for teaming with lowly players, claiming her standards must have fallen. With full arrogance, he tells her not to speak to him so casually. His sheer audacity is enough to make Galia's blood boil. She is not the type to let insults slide, and she begins walking toward him, visibly agitated, just as things are about to explode. Tsukumaru calmly steps in front of her to hold her back. Seeing him intervene, the old man points his finger right at Tsukumaru, asking if he wants to fight, and honestly, you would expect Tsukumaru to throw down. Instead, he just sighs. Then suddenly his face shifts into pure fear. His body shakes as he starts nervously complimenting the old man, acting completely cowed. In the background, Yuka and Galia freeze, completely confused out of their minds. The old man, convinced his superiority speech is absolute truth, leaves the room while mockingly telling Tsukumaru and telling him to remember his place. The room falls silent. Yuka rushes to Tsukumaru, frustrated, asking how he could accept those insults so easily. Tsukumaru calmly explains that if they caused a scene, they could get kicked from the waiting room. Still, he makes it clear that he is not one to let an insult go unanswered. With a malicious grin, he promises to deal with Jessitan later. It is a look that reads less defeated and more plotting petty revenge. Not too long after, an announcement rings out for the preliminary round. The preliminary stage is set up to evaluate their total damage per second with a very straightforward rule. Everyone is ranked on how much damage they can dish out in 10 seconds. Viewers are buzzing, eager to See who will dominate. Tsukumaru's team currently holds second place. That is, when an old, grimy guy sidles up, throws his arm around Tsukumaru, and mocks him, saying he can just log out now. According to him, there is no future for streamers like Tsukumaru. He fakes his fear again, acting totally intimidated. This feeds the old man's massive ego. Unbelievably, the viewers completely buy it. They start feeling sorry for Galia, stuck with such a supposed coward. Once the old guy leaves, Tsukumaru sighs. It is time to start the plan. Galia still looks highly doubtful, but Yuka quickly reassures her with a smile. She knows him well. The more ridiculous Tsukumaru looks, the more serious he is. That is just his style. Now, the first team begins their attempt. Tsukumaru gets excited, explaining how this preliminary round actually works. It is all about total damage in 10 seconds. Teaming up is key. They can stack debuffs and fish for critical hits, but execution is tough. The first team finishes up, scoring a decent 421 points. That is out of 1,000. Now, Tsukumaru's team gets called up. But when the spotlight hits, only Tsukumaru stands there. The crowd immediately starts mocking him, and the live chat goes wild. He remains calm, noting that any public show deserves some real drama. Suddenly, he unleashes a flurry of rapid punches at the target. But his attacks completely miss, giving the audience a good laugh. They dismiss him as a total clown. The old guy laughs, calling it boring. He even suggests taking a commercial break. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru quietly analyzes the dummy. He is fully confident. His silent preparation is completely finished. Activating physical enhancement, he draws his legendary soul-reaping blade. Then he strips down to his signature naked form. He stays focused. Those early sandbag swings did 0 damage, but every single strike counted. If he times it right, he can recreate that insane spider strategy. Suddenly, he charges forward and completely obliterates the dummy in one hit. The score explodes to 50,400, shattering the required target. Dead silence, the arrogant old man is left completely flabbergasted. Tsukumaru smirks, mockingly asking the crowd if that damage was too low. He explains that thieves do not usually deal massive, single-strike damage. Instead, they rely on speed and high evasion to slowly chip away. They land steady hits while effortlessly dodging every incoming attack. But when you have a broken stat build like his, rules fly out. Our main character is not just strong in name, he has the power to back it up. After destroying the test dummy in a single strike, the host is speechless. Absolutely nobody in the history of the game has ever done this. Seizing the moment, Tsukumaru calls out that obnoxious old man, Jessitan. With a devilish grin, he mockingly remarks that if a weakling like him can do this, then surely the great Jessitan can show everyone something much more impressive. He does not even bother hiding his disdain anymore, openly mocking him. He points out that he did this alone, while Jessitan probably needs help. The old man probably needs a full support group just to attempt this. With a final smirk, he adds that he will not ruin the party and walks off. Basically, he tells him he has 0 skill and is a total loser. Left behind, Jessitan stands frozen, his body trembling with absolute rage. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru's team easily cruises into the grand finals. Score among all the competing teams. Right after, Tsukumaru, Yuka, and Galia head straight into the finals. Waiting room, but the second they push that door open, they walk into a room. Absolutely packed with the most elite players around. Instantly, the air feels incredibly heavy and suffocating. As soon as Tsukumaru steps inside, every single eye locks onto him. Acting completely oblivious, he strolls right in with a goofy grin, casually asking everyone if he did something wrong. Right behind him, Galia and Yuka are whispering like a couple of gossiping aunties, completely stunned by his sheer audacity. Then again, Yuka is not shocked at all. That is just classic Tsukumaru. Finally, one of the players speaks up, and suddenly a whole crowd surrounds Tsukumaru. bombarding him with endless questions about his skills. Just like that, the heavy tension melts right away. It turns out that scary, intense vibe was only a temporary display. Before long, Tsukumaru is blending in perfectly with the rest of the players. Just then Mafu steps forward, giving off the warm vibe of a friendly uncle. He calms everyone down, noting that they are completely overwhelming Tsukumaru with all those questions. He even apologizes directly to Tsukumaru, explaining that the crowd was just incredibly hyped after seeing his earlier performance. As Tsukumaru turns to reply, Yuka suddenly lunges forward, shoving him aside in a complete panic. She frantically gasps, asking him if he actually realizes who he is speaking to right now. Of course, Tsukumaru knows, but he just playfully repeats her question, leaving her completely irritated. Mafu just smiles warmly at Yuka, thanking her kindly for recognizing him. Blushing red, Yuka eagerly shakes his hand and shyly confesses that she is a huge fan. While she is left staring dreamily at her own hand, Tsukumaru cuts in, saying he is honestly surprised that Mafu even knows about them. Mafu nods warmly, explaining that Tsukumaru's streams have become a massive sensation, and that his name is known to pretty much everyone. Soon, Roland approaches too, mentioning that his own guildmates actually studied Tsukumaru's troll forest videos as textbook material. That is when Yukino Hinata strolls over and chimes in, talking about how she first met Uma during a stream collab. Naturally, Uma snaps back, putting all the blame on Tsukumaru for making him this way. Just like that, their classic bickering starts up, with Tsukumaru playing dumb while Uma gets more and more annoyed. Uma then mentions he has been looking for Tsukumaru and asks who is on his raid team. Tsukumaru casually replies that he is actually working on that right now. In a flash, he leaps right onto a table and shouts for everyone's attention. He loudly announces that his team is preparing to conquer another massive dungeon, but since they need extra firepower, he is recruiting every single person in this room. That insane pitch earns a scoff from Uma and Yuka, both asking if he even knows who these legends are. Tsukumaru simply shrugs it off, calmly saying they are high-ranking players, which makes them absolutely perfect candidates for an S-class dungeon raid. Instantly, the whole room goes completely silent. Ray pauses for a moment, then smiles, agreeing that everyone present is highly qualified for an S-rank raid. Seeing her cool response, Tsukumaru guesses that she already knew what he was cooking up. Roland takes a second to think, then asks what kind of reward they would get from joining up. Tsukumaru answers with a smug grin, saying they get the absolute honor of collaborating with him, as if they are all dying for the opportunity. Roland's interest sparks and Hinata steps. Someone steps forward to ask about dividing the raid loot. Tsukumaru proposes that the rewards should be split based on each player's actual contribution during the boss fight. Hinata mutters that standing out among all these pro players is pretty tough, but Tsukumaru tells her it is only tough, not impossible. Right on cue, Mafu speaks up, wishing to join the action, though his corporate bosses would never let him collaborate with Tsukumaru. Tsukumaru proposes a clever plan, frame it as working with the winners. That way, his company will definitely sign off on the project. His sheer logic wins the room over. Everyone wants to join. Facing his team of gossip aunties again, Tsukumaru casually remarks that now they actually have to win. Galia immediately yells at him to make him realize what he just did, but he stays completely chill, saying he only made everyone his enemy. He is pulling a straight Lelouch from Code Geass, declaring war with a total poker face, minus the elegance plus pure chaos. Right then, a new voice cuts through the crowd, asking to join the raid. Tsukumaru takes one look at the guy and recognizes him as Jessitan's teammate. It turns out Jessitan's squad also clawed their way into the big finals. He does not really mind, though he warns him Jessitan won't be happy. The guy just shrugs, stating he could not care less about Jessitan anyway. Since they are only temporary partners for this metafest, Tsukumaru nods in agreement. making the guy light up like he just got followed by his favorite idol. He bids them a dramatic farewell, practically skipping away, once he's out of sight. Tsukumaru turns to Yuka and casually asks if that kid is actually famous. Yuka stares like he just asked if water is wet, yelling at him for recruiting a total random without even knowing his name, but then she admits she does not really know him either. Tsukumaru turns a deeply disappointed look. He feels like she just completely betrayed her career as a gossip queen. How did the girl who knows everyone's dirty laundry miss this one streamer? Yuka smugly claims she is highly selective, but Galia points out there are nearly 1,000 streamers registered here. That massive number absolutely floors her, shattering her cool girl facade completely, which sends Yuka into a fit of giggles. Tsukumaru dryly reminds them that this number is not impressive, it is terrifying. That is 1,000 ways to get absolutely roasted live on main. Terrifying, right? Galia digs up some info on Jessitan's mystery teammate and discovers he is indeed a streamer, though he is the type to broadcast for 3 hours. With only his mom watching, Tsukumaru figures the guy joined forces with Jessitan because being unknown and hated beats being completely ignored. Galia agrees their goals align, which Tsukumaru immediately translates to desperate survival mode clout chasing. Tsukumaru smirks at the sheer desperation, realizing the guy is leeching fame, yet something still feels pretty off. Jessitan's team landed third place by a single narrow point, which feels less like a simple accident and more like a setup, but he shrugs it off. He is not the detective of this anime, after all. Soon, the announcer bursts in, screaming like a YouTuber hitting 1,000,000 subs, declaring the finals open. Simple rules: collect points inside the dungeon before time runs out. Everyone suddenly locks in. The announcer delivers the final warning. If anyone gets knocked out, respawn at the very start. Just like a total amateur speedrunner. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru names his stream. I tried winning MetaFest against a bunch of top-tier hardcore players. It is basically a huge flex disguised as a title, then the finals begin. The match starts and every team storms straight into the dungeon, while exploring. One of Jessitan's teammates, the guy from Tsukumaru's old raid, finds a treasure chest and excitedly calls him over, but instead of celebrating, Jessitan shoves the guy aside and stomps his foot on the chest like he owns it. Laughing mockingly, he insults his own teammate, too serious apparently. Confused, his teammate stares back. What does he even want? Jessitan twists his face into an incredibly ugly, mean sneer. He says they should set a trap, aiming solely to target and destroy Tsukumaru. He wants to prove Tsukumaru is totally insignificant. Naturally, the stream audience flips on him immediately. Cruel comments flood the chat, roasting Jessitan alive. They call him pathetic and a total clown for sabotaging his own team. Stung by the hate, Jessitan fires back angrily, claiming there is no point. He insists they should not take this tournament so seriously. After all, players like Roland and Ray, the true hardcore elites, are guaranteed to win. He claims he just wants to make the event fun, but to the viewers, he just looks like an incredibly salty side character trying to stay relevant. As he keeps spewing nonsense, his teammate suddenly spots someone approaching. He quickly warns Jessitan. The figure drawing closer is none other than the pink-haired girl, Hinata. Her eyes sparkle the moment she spots the chest. Chat goes wild. Fight her, they scream. Big mistake incoming. Still dripping arrogance, Jessitan smirks, calling Hinata nothing but an appetizer. He boasts that he will wait for her to lower her guard first. But his big talk is instantly cut short as Hinata moves. She instantly closes the gap. In a blink, her knife touches his neck. She smiles elegantly, asking softly why he hasn't attacked yet, or if he is just waiting for Tsukumaru. Jessitan freezes in pure terror as the cold blade presses closer. Her sweet voice turns icy, warning him that he is not the only one watching Tsukumaru. Meanwhile, on the other side of the dungeon, Tsukumaru finds a treasure chest and pops it open. Yuka looks on, asking curiously if he plans to cheat again like he did with Uma. Galia stands nearby, eyes sharp, scanning the area. Tsukumaru calmly replies that he has not found any good loopholes to exploit just yet. Hearing this, Galia mutters that he seems self-aware of his own shady habits. With a completely blank face, Tsukumaru claims he actually has manners. Galia scoffs, thinking manners and Tsukumaru are two concepts that will never exist together. Inside the chest, he finds a massive diamond worth 400 points. He instructs Yuka and Galia to keep searching according to their plan. Suddenly, his danger instincts flare up. He screams for them to duck. Just in time, they dodge a sudden attack from behind. Roland steps forward with a knightly smile, deeply impressed by Tsukumaru's insane reaction speed. He never once lowers his guard, even while in the middle of opening a valuable chest. Golden-haired and bearing a knight's aura, he radiates pure confidence. Tsukumaru rises, thanking him, and asks if they should settle things after gathering some more loot. Roland proudly replies that losing a little time will not matter. They can easily recover. Galia lines close. She whispers to Tsukumaru, surprised to run into Roland this early. Tsukumaru stays completely calm and tells her to relax, declaring that this scenario was totally expected. That is why he already declared victory. Now he explains to his team that there are only two ways to earn points. One way is by collecting items in the dungeon, and the other is by stealing. High-scoring players have zero reason to gamble everything on risky combat. The smarter move just hunt treasure. Yet a wide grin slowly spreads across Tsukumaru's face. He openly admits that he hates dragging things out, suggesting they fight right here to settle it. They will settle once and for all who stands at the top, and Roland does not flinch. He accepts, claiming that while Tsukumaru is clever, they came prepared. At that exact moment, his powerful teammate steps forward. A wizard grips a long staff that glows with intense energy, channeling a heavy aura. The massive aura radiating from his weapon makes it obvious this battle will not be easy. With absolute zero hesitation, Tsukumaru and his teammates immediately charge. He aims for Roland's neck, while Galia dives in low. She targets his leg, but Roland counters instantly with a swift and punishing kick. The powerful strike sends her tumbling backward across the stone floor. At the same time, the wizard casts a massive, glowing field. Yuka and Galia find themselves completely trapped inside as the surrounding air burns with heavy magical energy. Roland coolly explains that this is a damage over time field. Each individual tick might not seem deadly, but against their team setup, it is brutal. Tsukumaru narrows his eyes, realizing this trap was designed specifically for him. Grinning wickedly, Tsukumaru admits that receiving such specific counter-strategies is actually quite an honor. That wild look reminds us of Hisoka, totally thrilled by a worthy opponent. Roland smiles with pride, acknowledging his rival's strength. He promises to end this entire fight as quickly as possible. Tsukumaru rises to continue the battle, but Galia suddenly stops him by blocking his path with her arm. She demands they regroup, but Roland intercepts her with a clean, deep strike. Her total health pool drops by nearly 20% from that single blow, leaving her heavily staggering. Galia calls desperately for Yuka's healing, but enemy arrows rain down. An archer from Roland's squad rains down an absolute storm of arrows, pinning both Yuka and Galia down under relentless fire. Bleeding out under the assault, Yuka cannot safely cast any healing magic. Roland confidently declares that they have absolutely no way to win. Galia refuses to submit and lunges again. She slashes wildly, but Roland easily slips away, keeping his composure. Yet doubt begins to creep in. They were supposed to retreat the very moment Tsukumaru was pinned down. But her stubborn resistance breaks the flow. Tired of their futile attempts, Roland finally gets serious. Right then, Roland's face completely changes. He senses trouble Tsukumaru has. Vanished, complete panic, he quickly shouts a warning to his team that Tsukumaru is using concealment. Hidden in the dark, Tsukumaru clicks his tongue, annoyed that Roland noticed so quickly, earlier. Before the fight even started, Tsukumaru had sat down with Galia and Yuka, explaining that his main weakness is poison and lingering damage over time. To deal with this flaw, he came up with a pretty clever plan. Galia and Yuka would draw Roland's attention directly, keeping them all busy while Tsukumaru faded away to set up the real counter. But now Roland finally catches on to the play. He smirks confidently, declaring that he is taking down Yuka and Galia first. He charges forward, sword ready to slice them in half, but Galia absolutely does not flinch. She braces herself and meets his blow. Head on, to Roland's absolute shock, her strike cancels his right out. Sparks fly everywhere. Deep in the shadows, Tsukumaru just grins, noting that his health is still in a pretty decent spot despite the poison. He calls out to Yuka, his voice cutting clearly through the loud clash, telling her to trigger Plan C. Yuka nods immediately, her face full of absolute determination. In a sudden blur, Tsukumaru leaps out of the shadows, right behind Roland's wizard teammate, catching him completely by surprise. Roland's face tenses up. He sees the danger. Tsukumaru is already within arm's reach, and one solid strike could end the wizard right there. He figures Tsukumaru's goal is to quickly eliminate the caster before his own lingering damage kills him off, but instead of losing his cool, Roland smirks confidently. He knows his ally is wearing the Ring of Resolution, an item that blocks one lethal blow. As long as the wizard survives that first strike, the active poison will keep ticking away, and Tsukumaru will eventually drop. But wait, Roland's smug confidence completely shatters next. Instead of a deadly strike, Tsukumaru suddenly snatches the wizard's staff using a perfectly timed steal skill. Crouching down, he grins and mocks that he might not beat Roland head-on, but without his staff, the mage is just completely useless. Tsukumaru lunges, blade aiming for the defenseless target. Roland moves instantly, diving in to block the strike just in the nick of time. Tsukumaru smirks, praising Roland's insane backup speed. Roland narrows his eyes, admitting that deep down, Tsukumaru's choice to steal that weapon was a sharp, calculated move. Without wasting another second, Roland commands his team to fall back. The three of them vanish instantly, escaping before the entire battle can spiral completely out of control. Tsukumaru clicks his tongue in annoyance, calling out to Galia and Yuka that Roland saw the tide turning and dipped out early. Still catching her breath, Yuka starts rambling like a total fan, meeting her absolute idol, saying it was unreal to actually trade blows with a top-tier player like that. Exhausted, Galia leans heavily on her weapon and nods in agreement, admitting that Roland is just playing on an entirely different level. Tsukumaru agrees, but then he casually opens up his hand. Small pile of glittering jewels, pure profit. Grinning slyly, he admits he swiped them during the chaos. Everyone is completely stunned. His crew just freezes, the crowd gasps, and the announcer completely stumbles over her words before finally screaming that Tsukumaru's squad has stolen points from Roland's faction to snatch the top rank. Roland just stands there in absolute shock. He did not retreat on his own terms at all. He got outplayed. Tsukumaru did not just block his move, he flat out robbed him in plain sight. That tactical retreat was just a humiliating defeat. Meanwhile, Tsukumaru clicks his tongue, kind of annoyed he could not grab the entire stash. Still, this loot easily pushes his crew into first place. Looking straight at the camera and the massive crowd, he smirks and brags about taking down his first hardcore player. As the crowd loses their minds, you just know he is targeting his next victim. A bit later inside the dungeon, Galia turns to Tsukumaru, demanding to know how they will escape the massive mob of players chasing them. Tsukumaru looks confused and asks why they even need to Escape, Galia snaps right back, her voice sharp, saying that too. Running is their only choice. Tsukumaru sighs like a tired grandpa. Dealing with whiny kids, he grumbles that youngsters today only care about victory when there is a bigger picture. Galia thinks he means sportsmanship, but Tsukumaru grins. No, not that. It is all about the highlights. An annoyed Galia screams at him for losing focus, but the chat totally erupts with love for Tsukumaru, spamming that running is way too boring. They want action. For once, Yuka actually agrees with him, moving closer to Galia while blushing like a love-struck fool, saying that since everyone is watching their performance, they have no choice but to deliver. Proper show. Tsukumaru raises an eyebrow, noting that even this weird otaku is on his side, calling her out as a closet obsessive. Galia warns Yuka that teaming up with Tsukumaru means she has to fight too. That reality check instantly hits her, but she dramatically vows to gladly sacrifice herself to stay with Galia-sama. That crazy energy proves she is basically a hardcore stalker, right on cue. The same time, Uma dashes onto the scene, shouting excitedly at Tsukumaru that he has come to settle the score. Tsukumaru barely pays attention, casually remarking that highlight number 1 has arrived. Yuka agrees right away, which makes Uma even more annoyed that she is siding with Tsukumaru now. Their classic bickering starts up instantly, and the viewers burst into laughter. The comment section floods with remarks, jokes about Yuka betraying her former favorite, Uma, to jump to Tsukumaru's side, while the chat spams betrayal memes. Mafu makes a dramatic entrance with his crew. Every single one of them is dressed like giant plushies flood the field, turning this serious battle into absolute comedic chaos. Then Uma screams at the top of his lungs that Tsukumaru is his prey, but Mafu just keeps that cheerful, goofy smile, saying the early bird always gets the worm. Things are getting pretty tense, but the vibe stays hilarious thanks to him. Meanwhile, 2 girls from Hinata's team show up right at the edge of the field, shouting out as they look for her. Everything descends into madness, leaving Tsukumaru completely cornered. Now Yuka gets flustered, crying out that this is getting way too complicated. But Tsukumaru is dead calm, telling her this is exactly what he wanted. Galia, though, is losing her mind. Sure, they are getting those flashy moments Tsukumaru loves, but how are they actually going to survive this insane mess? Tsukumaru just stretches, completely relaxed under the heavy pressure. Smirking, he says the only way to win a battle royale is to ride the wave of chaos. He steps up, telling Yuka and Galia to just survive on their own. The girls exchange looks, realizing he has absolutely no real plan here. Right then, Uma and Mafu strike at the exact same time, but Tsukumaru glides right between them, dodging like it is nothing. Galia charges straight at Mafu, but one of his plushy allies steps in to block her blade. Meanwhile, Yuka charges up and starts spinning like a human Beyblade, leaving everyone dizzy and stumbling. Tsukumaru pauses, grinning wide as he watches this beautiful, messy chaos unfold right before him. He is loving this. This is the exact situation he was waiting for. His bet on pure disorder is finally paying off, yet something feels off. The madness is great, but he is not getting as much out of it as he hoped. Then it hits him. Someone else is running the exact same play here. Watch this. Hinata lunges in with a lightning-fast strike that Tsukumaru barely dodges. His eyes widen. She is cut from the exact same cloth. They face off for the first time. With a mix of surprise and respect, Tsukumaru admits that he did not expect anyone to actually read his strategy. Hinata smirks proudly. Of course she did, because she is also a thief. With a playful spark in her voice, she tilts her head, challenging him directly to find out which one of them is truly the better thief. Completely uninterested in a debate, Tsukumaru proudly declares that he is obviously the superior thief. Instantly, the chat explodes in excitement. flooding the stream with comments and throwing donations just to see them. Fight, sensing the incoming cash, Tsukumaru shifts his stance and accepts the duel. He barely has time to set himself before Hinata suddenly bursts forward, her blade flashing as she aims straight for his neck. Tsukumaru slips away. At the very last second, but a few strands of hair fall, clicking. His tongue, he suggests changing spots, but Hinata completely ignores him. Pressing her relentless, aggressive assault, the ring of colliding blades echoes across the area as they dance around, neither giving an inch. Hinata smirks mid-fight, asking how he got such a ridiculously high thief build. Tsukumaru fires back with a sarcastic retort that the entire point of the game is customizing your stats, their weapons. They keep clashing, trading lightning-fast blows and sharp insults. Hinata insists she is merely an average thief, but Tsukumaru sneers, asking what kind of twisted world would ever call her average. Their battle grows sharper with every passing second. And for the first time in a long while, Tsukumaru actually feels something stirring inside him. He is really having fun as he fights. His mind shifts completely. He thinks like a thief now, analyzing every single move she could make, running through every possible option of which skills might lead to his defeat and which ones could secure a win. None of the flashy moves guarantee victory, so he focuses instead on blocking off every route to his defeat while carving out his own clear path to success. Decision made, his movements shift, his strikes come faster now, sharper and from wild angles that force Hinata onto the defensive. His blade brushes dangerously close to her neck when suddenly her body flickers and vanishes. Tsukumaru blinks in shock, realizing too late she has slipped right out of sight. Hinata reappears behind him with her knife raised, a confident grin spreading across her face. She calmly explains that when it comes to ultimate skills, the player who activates second holds the advantage. Her blade angles forward for a perfect backstab, but wait, Tsukumaru is already smiling. He was waiting for exactly this. Instantly, his shadow trap erupts, piercing straight through her stomach. Hinata gasps as dark thorns bind her in place. With that single strike, Tsukumaru secures an absolute and undeniable victory. After the match, Hinata ends up crying and whining while stuck on his shadow spear. Her tough attitude from earlier completely crumbles and her usual catchphrase becomes her ultimate death flag. The shift in her personality is honestly pretty comical. Tsukumaru tries to calm her down, saying she would have beaten anyone else, but Hinata keeps sobbing that none of it matters if she cannot defeat him. Tsukumaru reassures her by saying she is strong, though he cannot resist slipping in a brag, claiming the real problem is that he is simply too strong. The announcer declares the outcome of their duel, and at that exact moment, the bell rings to signal the final's ending. Everyone gathers on the main stage as the final results are officially announced. Hinata secures 6th place with 1,000 points. Roland lands in 5th with 1,900. Mafu is 4th with 4,500. Gasuton claims 3rd with 4,750, carried heavily by his teammates. Railing takes 2nd with 6,000, while standing tall at the top is Tsukumaru, champion with 15,250 points. The crowd erupts in applause, celebrating the hard work of every team. Fans shower them with prize money to celebrate. Tsukumaru then calls out to Mafu, reminding him of their promise. Mafu smiles brightly and agrees, saying he will gladly join his raid. Taking the mic, Tsukumaru silences the entire crowd to make a massive announcement. He declares his next stream will feature an S-rank raid, which he will tackle with everyone present. Naturally, he proudly declares himself the leader of the group. This instantly enrages Uma, who interrupts to angrily remind him that he never agreed to follow his lead. Their classic bickering explodes right on stage, turning the award ceremony into their own personal argument floor. Right in the middle of their petty quarrel, Tsukumaru announces his upcoming live stream title, I Tried. Conquering an S-rank raid with the strongest members, he boldly tells his viewers not to miss it, with the curtains of the MetaFest finally closing. Tsukimaru's channel surges past 1 million subscribers. In the real world, a major gaming news outlet publishes Tsukimaru's interview, which quickly. Sitting on a sofa in a sharp suit, Tsukimaru looks incredibly handsome, a stark contrast to his wild in-game persona. The interviewer offers congratulations and asks for his thoughts on winning the MetaFest. Tsukimaru admits that it all feels like a dream because the competition was incredibly tough and one single mistake could have cost him the victory. When asked about the secret behind his win, he scratches his head and admits his strategies are not common knowledge, yet since he is still relatively new, giving him a massive advantage. The interviewer points out that he sounds way more humble here than the cocky figure in the game. Quite a shocker, honestly. Tsukimaru smiles awkwardly, explaining that he just gets carried away during intense matches because he absolutely hates losing. The interviewer suggests his fierce determination is the real reason behind his miraculous victory. At the word miraculous, Tsukimaru almost snaps. He freezes. Shut up, he thinks, but he quickly forces a polite, strained smile. Working hard so nobody dismisses his success as pure luck. For the sake of the interview, he keeps himself totally under control. The interviewer then asks about his newly acquired reward skill customization. Tsukimaru explains that he plans to use it to overcome his current weaknesses, promising that the full details will be revealed in his very next stream. Finally, the interviewer asks if he has a final message for the readers. Tsukimaru brightens up, happily announcing that he and the other top finalists are going to challenge an S-rank raid together, urging everyone to watch. He then slips in a shameless plug about a free 1-month membership offer, but the interviewer cuts in with a laugh, telling him promotion is fine, but he needs to show more enthusiasm. Tsukimaru chuckles, thanks his fans, and urges them to subscribe to his channel. The interview ends with a warm thank you, and the published article cements his name even deeper in the gaming world. Inside the Rayline agency, Tsukimaru happily shows Yuka his phone, bragging that his interview has officially been published, proving he is a famous streamer now. Yuka nods, pointing out that he has already gained 400,000 new subscribers. Sitting beside her on the sofa, Tsukimaru proudly boasts about receiving countless emails, saying any unwanted ones can just go straight into the trash. He lifts his head high, absolutely overflowing with pride. Galia watches with narrowed eyes and comments that he is getting way too arrogant, warning him to avoid saying anything reckless. In public, hearing this, Tsukimaru stares at her until she frowns and asks why. He blurts out that she doesn't sound like Galia at all, because in-game she is incredibly harsh and sharp, while in reality she is shy and soft-spoken. Galia quickly shuts him down, telling him to stop teasing her, before thanking him sincerely. She explains that thanks to him, she was able to join Rayline after the MetaFest, and without that, she figured she would have been kicked out, and Tsukimaru totally agrees. He glances over at both Yuka and Galia, quietly reflecting on how he used to feel. Sure, he resented them at first, but that bitterness is gone. The past is the past. People change. After all, it was his terrible president who caused his downfall and ruined Yuka. She became bitter too, but now he decides Galia also deserves a chance at a reward, even if admitting that out loud is just way too embarrassing for him. While he is lost in his head, Ray enters, and all three quickly jump up. Yuka immediately slips right back into her classic fangirl mode, eyes sparkling with joy. Ray looks them over and asks if they finally came to join her agency. Galia and Yuka nod without a second thought, but Tsukimaru stands up with a different plan. He apologizes and politely declines the offer, but right at that exact moment, the door flies open. A gorgeous girl with long blue hair barges right inside, shouting. She demands that Tsukimaru stop right there, leaving the entire room completely silent. Tsukumaru asks Yuka if she knows this girl, but Yuka just shakes her head in confusion. Still, she has to admit that this newcomer is absolutely breathtaking. Rei raises an eyebrow, noting that this girl just invaded her private office uninvited. Then comes the ultimate twist. This beautiful girl is actually Uma, yes, that Uma. The chaotic, clumsy guy from the game. Tsukumaru and Yuka are left totally speechless. Their jaws practically hit the floor seeing this massive transformation. Uma calmly sits next to Rei, who turns back to Tsukumaru to ask about his refusal. Still a bit shaken, Tsukumaru replies that it is nothing personal against her. He just hates the idea of being tied down by anyone. Uma points out that the agency does not actually bind its members like that. After a moment, Tsukumaru realizes she is right, especially with the crazy money her face could make. Rei still respects Uma's choice to stay hidden, but Tsukumaru just cannot accept it. Truth is, his hesitation comes from a painful past of being heavily controlled. He admits that staying free is just a core part of his nature now. With that, he stands up to leave, while Uma warns him he will regret this. He only shrugs, completely brushing off her dramatic warning like it is nothing. Before heading out, he pauses and casually asks Uma about her subscriber count. She proudly answers that she has got about 900 subscribers. Tsukumaru cannot resist the chance to show off, throwing on a smug grin. He tells her that he just hit 1.5 million subscribers. Hearing that, the chaotic in-game Uma completely shatters her elegant real-world persona. She switches right back into full rage mode, bickering with him instantly. All that grace vanishes, replaced by her usual clumsy self. Tsukumaru calmly watches her lose it, before turning to bow politely to Rei. He thanks her sincerely, glad he could deliver his decision face to face. As he turns to leave, Yuka stops him to ask if he is cutting ties completely. Tsukumaru explains they still have the raid, so their dynamic stays the same. Hearing this, Yuka, who desperately wants to stay by his side, hesitates. She struggles internally, trying to figure out what she should do next. Finally, she musters up the courage and announces she is declining the offer too. She refuses to join the agency, leaving Tsukumaru staring at her in sheer confusion. He asks her straight up why she rejected it, but she just stays silent. She immediately scolds him, snapping that if he wanted to refuse, he should have done it sooner. Tsukumaru defends himself, arguing she did not have to reject the contract just because of him. But Yuka shuts him down instantly, pointing her finger straight in his face with a fierce glare. Looking him dead in the eye, she tells him there is absolutely no breaking up their duo. Tsukumaru is completely speechless, while Rei and Uma watch the whole dramatic exchange with quiet amusement. Rei is not disappointed at all. Instead, she just smiles, clearly impressed by their loyalty. She tells Yuka that if she ever changes her mind, she should absolutely reach out. Yuka shakes her head, playfully telling Rei not to tempt her because she might actually waver. With that, she bows deeply, expressing her sincere gratitude to both of them for the opportunity. Tsukumaru then turns to Galia, suggesting they should definitely work together again if another chance arises. With those final words, he and Yuka turn around to leave the agency. Walking out side by side, they make their exit and head down the street. After a while, Yuka asks him what on earth he plans to do next. After all, he just rejected a massive offer from a top-tier agent. She flashes her phone, showing a screen overflowing with unread notifications. Tsukumaru just smiles, and she instantly realizes he has zero plans. She lectures him on the spot, completely fed up with his incredibly carefree attitude. As they keep bickering, Galia suddenly sneaks up from behind, startling them. Tsukumaru jumps, then asks if she already finished signing her new major contract. But Galia simply shakes her head, casually revealing she turned down the offer too. Both of them freeze in absolute shock. Honestly, who would reject a top agency like that? Smiling brightly, she admits railing is great, but staying with them sounds way more fun. Yuka practically glows with excitement, jumping up and down because she is so thrilled. Sukamaru gets annoyed, telling Yuka she cannot just make decisions for the group. Galia tilts her head, asking if he really has a problem with her joining. Then she slyly tempts him, mentioning she can connect him with some elite production staff. These are the top-tier crew members from Collapsing Industries itself. Hearing that major perk, Sukamaru immediately folds and welcomes her on board. Of course, he still firmly reminds them both that he is absolutely the leader. The three of them seal it with a handshake, officially launching their brand new team. They head out under their new banner, the Merry Companions. A few days later, all the tournament finalists gather inside the massive game arena. Standing in the feuding warriors' battleground, Sukamaru lays out their next objective. This giant battlefield has two massive factions locked in a non-stop war. Their goal is to crush both armies and steal the ultimate prize to win. The moment he explains this, everyone feels the weight of this brutal challenge. Facing an army that size head-on sounds like a complete suicide mission. Even with this legendary lineup, charging straight in is practically impossible. Roland analyzes the layout, guessing there must be some sort of balance mechanism here. Sukamaru nods, confirming he hit the nail on the head. He reveals the map is loaded, with giant traps controlled from one central room. Roland catches on immediately, realizing they must divide and conquer. They have to split up, one group holding the chaotic front line inside the arena, while the second team hunts down the control room to trigger those massive traps. Since they need to keep a low profile, this high-stakes job is highly critical. Naturally goes to Sukamaru and the other finalists who already proved their worth. Meanwhile, Uma gets pretty annoyed when he realizes he is on the exploration team. He basically complains to the others that this is not his problem. He confronts Sukamaru right away, but Sukamaru just hits him with a smug smirk. Sukamaru mockingly asks Uma if he really thinks he is ready for the main team. That little jab instantly fires up Uma's urge to tear him apart. Seeing his frustration flare, Sukamaru decides it is time to back off. He softens his tone, explaining that he needed someone highly reliable for the job. That is why he wanted Uma to lead the exploration team. Hearing that praise, Uma instantly calms down and accepts his new role. With everything settled, the massive operation is finally ready to begin. This long-awaited S-rank raid officially kicks off now. The powerhouse fighters from the finals immediately charge toward the massive coliseum. The defending side fires off a deadly volley of arrows right away. But Roland easily blocks them all. Then Rei steps up, drawing her weapon. She uses a short-range gun to blast through the enemies one by one. Roland gets curious, asking why she uses that instead of a long-range rifle. Rei just smiles, saying that this little gun is way more fun. Before he can even reply, the heavy gates swing open and a massive wave pours out. Seeing they cannot win at range, the horde tries to swarm them with sheer numbers. But honestly, they are absolutely no match for these finalists. They tear through the crowd easily, treating it like a quick warm-up. Watching this absolute chaos unfold, Sukamaru is completely stunned. He only wanted them to defend the line until the fort mechanics activated. But at this crazy rate, they might actually conquer the whole place instead. Over on the stream chat, viewers note that Sukamaru already beat these guys. He agrees but explains that a player versus player setup would be way harder. To show them what he means, he points out Mafu as an example. With insane firepower, Mafu represents the absolute peak of raw damage. But to make it even more effective, Sukamaru has a little tip. He should swap some raw power for better attack range. It almost sounds like he is just showing off his knowledge here. But you cannot deny that his tactical analysis is completely spot on. Another viewer comments that this raid looks like an easy win. Sukamaru quickly shuts that down, explaining that resources are limited. Right now, everyone is using heavy skills, but their mana will not last. Once the long cooldowns kick in, the defense line will fall apart. That is why activating the arena mechanics is so incredibly important. But suddenly, complete chaos erupts in the stream chat. Viewers start spamming that the mechanics team has gone completely silent. Tsukumaru checks the status screen and finds their feeds completely dead. Even their login indicators have vanished from the system. This looks bad, so he decides to go investigate the situation himself. He tells his squad to hold the line while he checks it out. Hinata just shrugs, casually saying she can handle things on her end. She jokes about buying him time, teasing that they might just clear the field first. On the other side, Jesutin's teammate from the mechanics team joins the raid. He easily slices through enemy waves, completely unbothered by the sheer numbers. Laughing quietly, he realizes this supposedly boring side is actually a real hassle. Meanwhile, Galia spots something strange. Her interface goes weird, and she warns the team she cannot reach the others. Jesutin's partner shrugs it off, saying simple interference is nothing to fear. Those careless words make Uma freeze as a chilling realization hits him. Narrowing his eyes, Uma calls him out on his bluff. The man doesn't even deny it, he just flashes a massive, smug grin. He proudly admits his company specializes in exactly this brand of sabotage. The rest of the team is stunned, completely unaware of his real shady connections. Now the dark truth is out, making it clear this guy is incredibly dangerous. Knowing the stakes, Uma and Galia both strike at him at once. But to their absolute horror, their weapons pass straight through his body. Not a single scratch lands, leaving Uma spitting mad at his trick. He laughs, openly bragging that cheating is the ultimate way to win. Since he is Jesutin's ally, such dirty tricks are expected. Pretending to show mercy, he tells them to turn back now. He warns that fighting an unbeatable opponent will only end in a heavy penalty. After all, they wouldn't want to suffer a penalty for losing this fight. Uma clenches his fists and smirks at the sheer absurdity. Sure, this will be a massive pain, but running away is not an option. Charging forward, Uma mocks the villain for thinking his cheap trick makes him invincible. He vows to shatter his fake confidence and drag him back to reality. Though Uma plays as a man, she is actually a pretty girl in reality. Suddenly, her mind drifts back to why she made this choice. Back when she streamed with her real face, viewers never praised her wins. Instead, they only wished for her failure, mocking her upset reactions as cute. Hating the mockery, she hid behind a male avatar to escape her fear. But then she crossed paths with Tsukumaru, a truly transcendent player. He existed on a completely different plane of skill than her. Back in the present, Uma roars that he will defeat Jesutin's partner alone. The smug enemy completely ignores his efforts, easily dodging every single strike. While Uma's blows miss, the opponent's counterattacks slice into him with perfect precision. Desperate, Uma throws his weapon, but the enemy effortlessly steps aside. Rushing forward, the cheater aims to land a fatal strike. Uma realizes he cannot escape. Even a microsecond error means instant death. But that swift movement proves the enemy actually dodged his previous throw. That exact dodge is the clue, the secret to breaking his invincibility gimmick. Realization clicks, and Uma desperately shouts out a warning to the team. He tries to explain how Jesutin's partner is pulling off his tricks. Before he can finish, a spear drives cleanly through his chest. Collapsing to the ground, Uma smiles, knowing he did his best. He leaves the rest to Tsukumaru, trusting him to win. He grins, eerie delight fills his face as he looks at Tsukumaru. With a mocking sneer, he calls Uma nothing but a side chick. Tsukumaru's gaze sharpens. He repeats the cold insult. It cut deep. Yuka watches in complete shock, tears running down her cheeks in sheer horror. Then Tsukumaru himself sheds tears, even while agreeing with the cruel insult. Suddenly, Tsukumaru's aura turns icy. He stares directly at Gyusuten's teammate. He asks if he knows how to beat the final boss. The man just blinks. Confused, completely lost, in a chilling voice, Tsukumaru begins to explain. This is exactly when side characters play their part to pave the way. Tsukumaru tells Yuka and Galia to leave, promising to handle this. He will handle this alone. Galia tries to argue, but he stops her. Locking eyes with her firmly, he tells them to focus on their roles. Sensing his resolve, Yuka grabs Galia's hand and drags her away. They leave quickly. Now alone, Tsukumaru calmly turns to face his opponent. He asks if his opponent plans on chasing them, and honestly, this gets crazy. He drops a massive bomb, calling Gyusuten's teammate by his true name. Alan Newman, the man, stiffens, completely caught off guard, demanding answers. How did Tsukumaru figure it out? Simple deduction, the warrior calmly explains. He only wanted to test his reaction. That slip-up confirmed everything. He continues, noting that Alan knows exactly who holds the map pieces. They know how many pieces each player possesses, if Tsukumaru can secure the third map piece during this S-rank raid. Alan loses his lead. His edge as the 3-piece holder, any interference points directly to him. Alan is the most likely culprit. Hearing this, Alan smirks and praises him. He highly praises the deduction, even telling Tsukumaru to quit gaming and become a detective instead. His voice sounds almost sincere, but not quite. There is a sharp, mocking edge underneath. Tsukumaru does not stop there. He pushes further, pointing out that Alan must have a way to steal map fragments directly from other players. Suddenly, Alan attacks. He lunges with his spear. Tsukumaru reacts instantly, slipping to the side. He narrowly dodges the blow. Seeing Alan's aggressive reaction, Tsukumaru taunts him. Saying his guess was right, he calmly explains how it works. Nobody carries map fragments openly in their inventory, meaning there is a trick. Alan must have a special stealing method. Suddenly, his aura darkens completely. His tongue flicks out like a serpent as he mockingly asks if Tsukumaru has already figured out a way to defeat him. Without waiting for any answer, he unleashes a rapid barrage of spear strikes. Tsukumaru swiftly evades, countering with his soul-reaping knife to no avail. The blade passes harmlessly through Alan's body, making his opponent grow even prouder. Since he already defeated Gyusuten, he thinks Tsukumaru will be no different. Tsukumaru keeps repeating the exact same attack, which Alan easily dismisses. He calls it completely pointless, even when Tsukumaru starts throwing poison amulets. Nothing changes, the charms simply dissolve without leaving behind any trace. Still, Tsukumaru stubbornly keeps throwing them, slowly grating on Alan's nerves. Finally irritated, Alan charges straight forward and thrusts his deadly spear. His spear, Tsukumaru repeats his moves, slashing with his knife as the spear strikes. Spear pierces right through him, yet again the blade phases right through, making him think all of this resistance is just a desperate stall. Stall for time, confident in his victory, Alan slashes cleanly ahead. Straight into Tsukumaru, expecting a win, but Tsukumaru is not that naive. A dark grin spreads. Suddenly, a shadow spear erupts from below. Right under Alan, slicing across his back, dark blood sprays everywhere. Alan's confidence shatters instantly at the sight of his own blood, while Tsukumaru just tilts his head innocently, playing the part of a clueless child. Angry and frustrated, Alan demands to know how he got hurt. Tsukumaru calmly explains he only dodged certain attacks to test a theory. This proved a trick was at play, and his deduction is incredibly sharp. Alan's cheat shifts his character hitbox exactly one space behind his actual avatar. This creates a perfect illusion of invincibility, though Tsukumaru admits he does not know if Alan is spoofing coordinates or abusing lag to cheat. But once he figured it out, he just lured him into position. He even credits Uma's final words for giving him the perfect clue. To find the trick, realizing he is cornered, Alan prepares to log out. He tries logging out, but Tsukumaru stops him with a cold warning. He asks if Alan actually knows what happens if he runs now. Oh, he knows. His character will freeze right in place. This anti-escape system exists to stop players from running from player versus player fights. Yet Alan is totally unfazed. Tsukumaru quickly connects the dots. The only reason he does not care is because he is not actually carrying the map pieces right now. Alan just smirks, leaving the answer entirely to his opponent's imagination. That vague reply just reminds everyone that Alan is a total mystery. Then, to Alan's absolute surprise, Tsukumaru actually smiles and thanks him. Alan is completely thrown off, having no idea why he is being thanked. Tsukumaru grins, grateful that Alan showed him how to steal maps. He breaks down his brilliant theory step by step for the viewer. First, it is no special class skill. Alan does not have one. If it were a special item, logging out would let Tsukumaru take it immediately. And cautious players do not take massive risks like that. This leads Tsukumaru straight to his final, brilliant conclusion. The power to steal maps is a hidden system authority. Unlocked by gathering 3 pieces, kill the holder and you take it. The authority transfers directly to the killer. That is the real prize. The true privilege of holding 3 whole map fragments. Hearing this sharp breakdown, Alan finally loses his cool and gets serious. He asks what Tsukumaru will do if those guesses are actually correct. But Tsukumaru just shifts the entire topic with a relaxed, calm smile. He simply asks if Alan thinks his allies are taking way too long. Alan blinks in confusion until Tsukumaru brings up the public scoreboard. It clearly lists Tsukumaru's squad as the first to clear the S-rank raid. The truth completely breaks Alan, who realizes his master plan just backfired. Failed completely, Tsukumaru just grins, completely unfazed. He never actually sent Yuka and Galea for help. That was a total lie. Instead, they were handling the quest mechanics, and they succeeded. Tsukumaru mockingly tells Alan that his entire brilliant detective routine was just a clever stalling tactic. To buy them enough time to claim the map fragment. Pretty genius, right? Now a faint glow appears right in his hand, and the actual map piece suddenly materializes, the official system reward he earned for registering and completing the quest. Now he holds 3 pieces. This gives him the exact same authority Alan used to abuse so much. He can now steal map fragments from anyone, even if they are buried deep in inventories. This sudden reversal completely enrages Alan, who curses his opponent bitterly. Tsukumaru just grins with devilish amusement, actively mocking his anger. He tells him not to be so angry, declaring that from this moment on, they stand on equal ground. With icy conviction, Tsukumaru dares him to show his real skills. Without relying on his dirty cheats, he promises to crush every last shred of hope he has. Rewinding a bit, Tsukumaru had sent Yuka and Galea out of the room to handle their own jobs, but as they run, Galea suggests calling for urgent help. But Yuka immediately shakes her head, explaining that calling for backup will end their stream. If they ask for backup, the stream will cut off immediately, which Galea quickly understands. Since their own teammate is a dirty cheater, they must keep the stream going. If they turn it off now, the public will never witness the absolute truth of what happened. Yuka smiles, admitting she could not sleep at all the night before. Galea assumes she was nervous about raiding alongside such famous, top-tier streamers. But Yuka quickly shakes her head, clarifying that nerves had absolutely nothing to do with her insomnia. She was actually too excited, seeing all these famous names collabing together. Is such an epic crossover event that she cannot wait to see how it turns out. She is so hyped she even plans to rewatch the archive later, which is why she absolutely refuses to let this stream stop for anything. Galea nods slowly then asks her first real question: can Tsukumaru actually handle fighting all on his own? Yuka straightens up proudly, answering in a tone that perfectly mimics Tsukumaru's own arrogant vibe. Of course he will be fine because he is the great Tsukumaru. If he ever truly needs them, he will call, so Galea can safely leave the cheater to him. Her second question is much heavier though. She wonders whether The rest of their team back at the Coliseum can survive the onslaught without their ace. At this, the smile fades slightly from Yuka's face as doubt creeps in. With only the two of them working on these puzzle mechanics, progress is bound to drag. Is going to be painfully slow, leaving only 4 players to defend. The entire front line against a deadly S-rank raid, while Yuka worries about everything. Rei pings them privately, reminding Yuka that their conversation will not be heard on stream. She can speak freely, and Rei quickly delivers some great news. They successfully took the fort. Yuka immediately apologizes, explaining that their entire exploration team has been almost entirely wiped out, leaving Tsukumaru completely stuck dealing with another urgent matter. She adds that she and Galia are solving the mechanics, but it is going to take much longer than planned. Rei asks directly if the puzzle is still doable. Yuka thinks it over for a brief second, then answers with total confidence. She hears they can solve it. Rei exhales in relief, leaving the task in their hands. Before she hangs up, right on the battlefield, Mafu asks Rei what the plan is. Rei reports the exploration team needs more time, which changes everything. Hinata gets incredibly excited, bragging that she is about to steal the spotlight, while Roland laughs that the viewers are about to witness the longest stream ever.